The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is October 6, 2025. We are live to tape on episode 882. And today, Tower of Sora, signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil. You're not crazy, and I forgot to send the text, and I just sent it now. Go, text. Ride like the wind.
All right, yes. And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Ow,
Monday, and we are publicly documenting the biblical analysis for AI. We've been hyper aware of AI for so long, Basil, and it's interesting because so much of what we discussed and warned about, it just kind of happened. And nobody really took notice about what we had to say about it. But you know what? We're leaving a documented trail of analysis for the topic of AI, and we will continue to do so. You can't stop us.
That's right. You can't stop us. Although they've tried to stop us, they've done a pretty good job.
They've slowed down the progress quite a bit. Yeah, the once sharp object is now a dull pencil. But you know, we keep pushing. Yeah,
that's what you do. If your pencil's dull, you just keep going and it sharpens itself, huh? There's something there. I don't know.
You gotta work at it at a different angle. You know, you gotta come at it differently. But yeah, you just keep going.
Okay, there we go. The text message is now out. I got locked out of the account. Sorry, text message folks. We're going to have more people showing up here. And you should jump on the text message alert system too. Very easy. Just text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Even if you're just a podcast listener, you should do it because you can text us back at that number. And I read them all. It's a very fun time. Okay, just to slip that in there right there. Boy, oh boy, we're right in the middle of this very crazy PSYOP season. And I know people have been saying it. We have been saying that. It's an interesting weekend because you get these periods within every PSYOP where they pop up, you know, it distracts you from what's going on, gets your attention, gets you locked in, gets you following down the rabbit holes. Then there's a period of just escalation where there's like no new, they're not introducing any sort of new PSYOPs, right? But there's this escalation period where they just pile on details, escalations. You know, this is just like really start heating it up to a boil. And usually that doesn't happen over the weekend. Usually the weekend is for new stuff. But this weekend was crazy. I mean, it's hard to tell what's real anymore. And there's a good reason for that. But when it comes to, you know, Portland, Chicago, Venezuela, it's hard to build a show around, hey, it's the same stuff as last week, but more. It's just more, and it's hotter, and it's bigger. But as always,
how many times can you point out that there's a tower being built? You know, you watch them build the foundation. It's like, they're building a tower, Tower of Babel, and then
that's
they're
what
like,
you gotta keep
whatever.
Your eyes. Got to keep your eyes open for that. The construction happens under the fog of war. But there's some pretty interesting things that dropped here, Gonz. I kind of like your idea of starting out with this one.
NEPHILIM update.
And of course, aliens.
We were made by the aliens.
According to Alex Jones, we were made by the aliens.
Where are the aliens?
Where are they? Maybe they're in us, Basil. According to the New York Post. No, not Blogomania. New York Post. Alien DNA found inside humans. It was inserted into our genes. Bonkers new study claims. I like bonkers. I think that's a great way to.
Is this an anti-vax commercial? Is that what this is?
I'm not sure. It is the New York Post officially. It just dropped this morning. I think they, you know, there's something to be said about using the word bonkers new study because it it shows that, hey, look, New York Post, we're just reporting the news here. We don't necessarily believe this, but it's important enough for one of the oldest news organizations to make sure everybody knows about the alien DNA found inside humans, which was inserted into our genes.
And all you had to do is listen to Canary cry back in like 2013, 2012.
Yeah.
You would have known this already.
Oh, yeah. Interviewing people like
Corrupting the image, baby. Corrupting the image.
Corrupting the image. Dr. David Jacobs, who is not a Christian, who looked at the alien abduction topic and saw some consistent themes about hybrid children and things of that nature, which seems to align with the Genesis 6 account, which is part of what we've talked about for over a decade here, which is that loosely, culturally phrased fallen angels mated with human women, the daughters of Adam, to create a race of Nephilim. And also after the flood. And so since we are post-flood, maybe this applies here. But it says, is it the invasion of the genome snatchers? Just in case the idea of aliens walking around in human skin suits wasn't frightening enough, an outlandish study asserts that aliens might have abducted us and inserted genes into our DNA, with the fallout affecting potentially millions of people. It was funny because the first time I read this, I did think about the jab topic, right? I was like, huh, interesting. I wonder if this is the cover story. This is the cover story of the damage that's going to be more present with the
there is an interesting sort of counter psyop to that, because yes, that is a big part of the, Pfizer conversation. Of course, Pfizer caught a break by getting blackmailed by the Trump administration to provide cheap drugs for TrumpRx.com.
Blackmailed.
I mean, seriously, it's so funny to watch. He's just the fact that Albert Bourla is just like so grateful and so positive about like absolutely financially decimating his company to give basically free drugs to the United States for Trump. I mean, blackmail is the only way to explain it. But it's this counter programming, this counter sort of conspiratorial psyop crafting here, because of course that's where all of our minds went. There's been lots of build up with announcements from RFK, the Tylenol thing, that's becoming more and more. The Overton window is opening up. So you put out this crazier conspiracy theory. It actually makes the Pfizer story a lot more plausible. They're going
right, for people paying attention.
Yeah, they're going straight all the way back to alien abduction, Anunnaki, David Icke, as far back as you can go. On the New York Post, which is the oldest newspaper in America, not a crazy, untrustworthy outlet.
Well, you got to look at who they're sourcing. You got to look at who they're sourcing, which we'll get to in a second. Go ahead, finish your.
That layering of inserting the crazier conspiracy theory, makes the perhaps equally as important accountability to hold our corporations to, less crazy by comparison.
I agree. It's a great scapegoat for sure. It's like, hey, it's Pfizer. And now it's not Pfizer. Check out what these aliens are up to. It says here, quote, humanity may be undergoing genetic transformation, end quote. Lead researcher Dr. Max Rempel, the founder and CEO of the DNA Resonance Research Foundation, told the Daily Mail of the study, which has yet to be peer-reviewed. Okay, so New York Post is sourcing Daily Mail, which in itself is some interesting commentary if you've been around the show for a long time. But this idea of humanity undergoing genetic transformation, that is not unfamiliar to any of us here. We don't need aliens for that, but apparently it's a good scapegoat. It's a good narrative to scare people for maybe even a counter. Hey, the aliens are here. You need the vaccine to prevent the alien DNA from changing you too much. Rempel came to this far-fetched seeming conclusion by analyzing DNA from both regular people, whatever that is, and those who have claimed to have been abducted by aliens. This comes following a spike of UFO sightings over the last year, making many fear that we are on the verge of some not-so-friendly close encounters. The scientists specifically analyzed 581 complete families from the 1000 Genomes Project, discovering large sequences of DNA in 11 families that didn't appear to correspond to either family. 11,
you
huh?
say.
11.
That's
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
These genetic aberrations entailed a bundle of 348 non-parental genetic variants. As the subjects were born before 1990, this ruled out gene editing technologies like CRISPR, which only emerged in 2013, which I thought was weird. It's like, okay, so let's just ignore 23 years between 1990 and 2023. Is that because they weren't old enough to put their DNA in a database?
Oh, gone.
something?
Even better. I think that's 33 years, not 23 years.
Is it?
Whoa. 1993,
No.
2023?
No, 2013.
Oh, you said 23. Okay, yeah, that is
13.
23
Yeah,
years.
13. Rempel also analyzed
Wait,
20.
that is still funny though.
It is funny.
23.
20. Oh
because of
yeah,
this
23.
next sentence.
Yeah, Rempel also analyzed 23andMe, resulting from individuals who self-identify as alien abductees, discovering that some families showed evidence of non-parental markers.
Wow.
So, I mean, how many
There's
people
an
do you think?
alternate explanation for non-parental markers, but I hear you.
Yeah, you got to get that meme of that of Sukalos saying aliens. It's all aliens. Yeah, and it's interesting that the databases from self-identified alien abductees. So that in itself is very fascinating. If this evidence is confirmed to be true, the alien prober feels that, quote, it could be possible to detect which humans carry alien DNA, essentially identifying hybrids, end quote. In other words, like the premises of every sci-fi flick, from Invasion of the Body Snatchers to They Live, the aliens are already walking among us, camouflaged our genes, per his theory. The extraterrestrial enthusiast even claimed that a good portion of those with autism, ADHD, and Asperger's and other neurodivergent traits could contain these alien insertions. Although he noted this is speculation at this point. Interesting.
It's not the Tylenol. It's not the Tylenol. It's not the vaccine.
This is propaganda from Big Pharma. This is Tylenol pushing back against the narrative.
Well, I mean, seriously, though, this is very interesting thing, because at least in the eyes of maybe the mainstream or establishment, whoever might, be kind of deploying these different psyops in one way or another, the idea that autism, ADHD could be caused by some sort of medical product is considered the conspiratorial, tinfoil hat, wacky thing to think. And so putting out this, like, I don't know if it's supposed to be some sort of diversion. You're going to divert a certain amount of people away from attention to the medical causes of these things, to the complete, alien tinfoil hat version. It's splitting the group a little bit more, and getting rid of, maybe not getting rid of accountability, but diverting accountability to sort of human corporate sources of these things. It's the establishment wielding sort of conspiracy theory in air quotes for their own gain, for their own tools. Now, for those of us who have been in the sort of skeptical community for a long time, this is something you eventually learn. When you first start digging into things and doing your research and you're looking at the declassified things and studying the Bible, you have this sort of honeymoon period where suddenly, the whole world falls apart. It both falls apart and also starts making complete sense. It's this very sort of contradictory experience in the first few years of, you're looking into this kind of stuff. But then you come out the other side and then you start being able to pinpoint the ways in which, in that excitement, in that, honeymoon phase of being skeptical, just how easy it would be for an establishment to wield different conspiracies, to use in today's world, use your algorithms to silently, subtly shift your opinions and your research with you thinking that you're the one, going down the rabbit hole. And then eventually you come out the other side and you're like, okay, yeah, so, you can't really trust any of it, but you start looking at the sort of meta effects of the media landscape. Instead of paying hyper attention to the media itself, you kind of pull back, look at it in this principalities and powers sort of way, and then it becomes quite obvious. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some sort of DNA corruption in some people. We do know this. The Nephilim are a very popular piece of conversation now, but of course, our people have been on top of it since, oh goodness gracious, the early days. But in order with every new psyop comes another split in the population. You kind of visualize it. There's I'll just say for America, there's America, and then it splits into two. It's Republican and Democrat, and then those two split into two more. So you have four, and it's pro-Israel, anti-Israel, coming off both of those, and then it splits and splits and splits and splits. Once you're 10 generations down that split.
Once you're canary cry, then you're isolated enough.
You're right. You become isolated. You have almost nothing in common with somebody not outside of your direct group, and that's the tool. That's how it works, and that feels like what this is. I was going to say trying to do, but probably very effectively doing.
That sounds like a take from a neurodivergent who has alien DNA coursing through his veins currently.
Baby, I can see it all.
It's being activated. He even suggested that these extraterrestrial genetic modifications could bestow humans with unusual abilities like telepathy, much like Ellen Ripley's psychic abilities in the sci-fi sequel Alien Resurrection. I'm dropping all kinds of predictive programming here. Of course, there are some caveats to this out there study. Rempel, who holds a PhD from the Institute of Gene Biology in Moscow, Russia, noted that there is, quote, no conclusive evidence yet, as they, quote, need better data sets, which are available only on approval, end quote. There you go. They want more. Russia wants more access to your DNA. How do they unlock that? The aliens. We got alien evidence.
They can just buy the 23andMe data.
They already did, apparently, off the black. They didn't say where they got that data. It's off the black market, I assume. Right? They're not scouring. They're not making deals with, Pfizer, who might have all that data, too. Quote, that takes time and effort, said the scientist, who added the current commercial genotype servicing, which rely on array-based data, aren't precise enough to support such radical claims. Instead, he advocates for next-generation sequencing, NGS, or whole genome sequencing, WGS, which can detect novel variants with much higher resolution. So, of course, this always requires more technology, more funding. There's always that angle, too, that they're throwing something out there that grabs attention so they can create more buzz and more funding. Rempel's hope is to use high-resolution or next-generation sequencing, which can pick up novel variants at a higher resolution, to analyze parents and children. Analyze the parents and the children who identify as alien abductees and hopefully pinpoint where aliens infiltrated this DNA strand. What happens to people that are like, I was abducted, I've had this experience, and then they check their DNA and they're like, nope, you don't have any alien DNA. That's cast aside.
Yeah.
Not to mention that the researchers' theory is in the same wheelhouse as the most fringe alien hybrid hypothesis floated by tinfoil hat conspiracists, such as the NASA mummies, which reportedly harbor both human and alien DNA. Nigel Watson, author of Portraits of Alien Encounters Revisited, urged caution due to the sample size and the challenge of studying those with anecdotal evidence of alien abductions. Okay, sure. Quote, alien abduction experiences can stem from a variety of terrestrial factors, he said. Quote, we need to carefully verify these accounts before drawing conclusions about DNA. Nonetheless, Watson believes that further genetic research on volunteer abductees is needed and could potentially prove as, quote, world-shattering as discovering a flying saucer. In the interim, Rumpel believes that possible, quote, alien hybridization could have major implications for the future of humanity. Oh my gosh, groundbreaking, breaking news. There might be some implications for the future of mankind if there's an alien hybridization program going on. And the final quote here.
The last sentence of the article is the best, okay?
This is the best. I love this. Yeah, this might tip their hat a little bit. Quote, we need to consider how much alien hybridization is healthy for the planet and which alien races we might give priority, end quote, he said.
It ends with this crazy quote.
I'm sorry, Greys, not you, but the tall ones, the tall Nordics. Come right in.
Simultaneously like Green New Deal, eco warrior, save the planet from climate change, and a sort of species eugenics, like using
this is like a dating show. This is like The Bachelor.
Hybridization species of alien that will be the most healthy for the planet. That's where this guy like totally goes off the reservation as far as like the construct of this article. Because again, going back to all those separations, the many layers of separation of PSYOP that they very effectively deploy, maybe a Canarian starting out reading this, like remembering, the Doug Hamp episode and the L.A. Marzulli episode and the, this, oh my God, okay, they're getting to it. They're getting to the NEPHILIM. They're getting to the biblical, corrupting of the seed and these things. And it ends with not just, sticking with this alien abduction thing, but also going to actually, this could be a good thing. Diversity is our strength, Gons. Genetic diversity, as long as
resilience. Climate change is coming. We must use the alien DNA that is most resilient and helpful to mankind.
It's like also kind of like Nazi eugenics, like alien racists.
Alien race. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine too. This, of course, with everything going on, are they going to accuse Trump of being friendly with the aliens? He's going to talk about, I like those aliens, not those aliens, but those ones aliens from up there or whatever. And then you have celebrities that are going to latch onto this. I would imagine if this becomes more popular, or if there's any scientific validity behind anything, you get streamers and influencers getting tested and, oh my gosh, guys, I have the DNA, I have the variant.
We just had that clip from Machine Gun Kelly, who came out and was talking about how he feels like he's a hybrid and his childhood, doesn't make sense, and how he's talked to his parents about like very seriously coming out and like disclosing that he fully believes he's some sort of hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that's just interesting timing for this article to drop. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different layers to this. Obviously, we try to touch on a little bit of each, but
the one thing I love, just to hit the nail on the head here, because again, you think of people who believe in aliens, usually the sort of broad media stereotype is that they're like a conservative, libertarian, tinfoil hat prepper type person. But combine this last sentence with the like Machine Gun Kelly celebrity influence. This actually feels very like leftist, politically left.
No, because they've run out of any moral high ground, so all they got left is the aliens, bro.
That's why
invoke the alien.
That's why
to bring back the cool factor.
Or the biblical references aren't made, because that doesn't mean anything to somebody on the left. So they got to stick with the alien bit, but make it about being good for the planet and this sort of thing.
Eco stuff.
Strange, it's very strange presentation.
I mean, this they should. I didn't realize Genesis 6 was going to be like a game show for mankind. Like, hey, you got some aliens lined up, you got some human women, some daughters of Adam, and there you go. Come up with some.
We're in it, man. We are just straight up in it. For those who have been in this sort of, whatever kind of fringy genre for a while, you can't look around and say that we're not absolutely in it. And one thing that totally blew my socks off recently, and thank you to Monica for tagging us in this. What was it? Was it this morning? Yeah, it was this morning. Tagged us. And it just so happened to be that I listened to this podcast last night, which I don't recommend listening to this podcast while you're trying to go to bed. But, we've been decrying the sort of professional pain that it causes us, that, all this weird stuff is absolutely mainstream, absolutely, and at the same time trying to point out when and where it's being wielded by intelligence agencies for social control, etc. And, we noticed just starting a couple years ago, like, oh, okay, I guess everybody gets to talk about the Nephilim now, and it's not a crazy thing, and it doesn't get you banned. But I was listening to I think it's the most recent Tucker Carlson podcast. I threw the link in there in the doc right where we're at.
That's right here.
On it, you got it pulled up. That I actually threw the link to the actual page. Not that we need to play it, but it's on the Tucker Carlson network. The name of the name of the episode is The Occult, Kabbalah, the Antichrist's Newest Manifestation, and How to Avoid the Mark of the Beast. This is Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Now, of course, in the past couple years, he's gone out on his own, and he's, independent, or at least alternative, and he gets to do what he wants now, and he's really leaning into this. But he just went full, like, canary cry crazy, as deep as you can get. And he has this fella, Conrad Flynn, who I had not really heard of before.
I haven't either.
But they go through the whole thing from the occult influence and sort of grandfathers of the mid-20th century to the cyberneticists, all stuff that we've gone over the past, decade and a half, goes into Kabbalah. One of the funny things was, and this is what I was like, okay, so we have intelligence here just flat out coming out, breaking out the big guns to finally sort of address and divert the crazy conspiracy theorists from, one of the most long-standing sort of theories of everything that have developed over the past decade. And they come in, and when they get to the Kabbalah section, now Tucker recently had that thing where he pretended that Nick Fuentes knew that his dad was in the CIA before he knew his dad was in the CIA. And this is obviously, some sort of ruse by Tucker, because we had the clips of him talking about his dad in the CIA, but he comes out and he insists that he only found out after Nick Fuentes got, this whole thing. He's sort of putting on this show. When it gets to the Kabbalah bit of this podcast, we all remember the many times where Tucker Carlson is wearing, the red string around his wrist, which is a classic Kabbalah, kind of identifier. It's part of it's part of the lifestyle.
Celebrities would be spotted with it that were
all
visiting Kabbalic temples and the whole deal. Yeah.
And there's just sort of endless screenshots of him during his even Fox News days. I mean, I don't know if it went far enough back to be on CNN or not, wearing the red string around his wrist, which is like, okay, well, we know he's CIA. He's said he's not CIA. He obviously is. He lied about his dad. He went to Nicaragua. Okay. Now, there's been all this, and look, I don't know for a fact if Tucker is practiced Kabbalah or whatever, but it's hard to really take whatever he says at face value. And, he goes, Kabbalah, what is that? I don't know. What do you think about that?
What is Kabbalah? No, listen to this exchange, okay? I found the part of the transcript that this little exchange happens. I don't have I didn't clip it, but so they're talking about this thing. This is Conrad Flynn. Yeah, and so this idea of...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Weird technology of things getting out of hand. When people talk about the AI and the AI demons or this or that, it actually just goes back to the golem. Age of Deceit 2 people. The Terminator movies are essentially about golems, man creating a creature, the creature breaking free from man and killing them. And in the case of Nick Land, we'll get into him more, ... Tucker interrupts, but the original golem in Prague, the one you're referring to in the 16th century, was a product of something called Kabbalah. Yeah, Kabbalah. This is an essential Nick Land thing. What is Kabbalah? What is
He knew
what it was. And then I guess he's being a good interviewer.
So he's being a good
brings
interviewer.
it up.
but he knew enough about Kabbalah to reference the Golem of Prague, which is like I don't know. It's not like
it's an Age of
obscure,
Deceit too.
but it's pretty obscure.
Pretty
you know,
obscure, yeah. Mentioned
Golem of Prague, and he knows it's in the 16th century, and he goes anyway. He brings up Kabbalah, and he goes, "What is Kabbalah?"
What is it? I don't know what Kabbalah is.
And now those who are listening, who've been paying attention, you're like, okay, Tucker, all right. you don't know what Kabbalah is, okay. And he knows, okay, he knows what's out there about him, because he immediately goes to the red string, of which is, has been pointed out for a long time, many years. And he goes to, I don't know what Kabbalah is. I have no idea. My dad, he references his dad in the CIA. He says, my dad, who was a newspaper man, wink, okay. You mean a
newspaper man?
He calls his dad a newspaper man, which he did.
That's a nice euphemism for propagandist, really. Or
his dad was a newsman, but he was a CIA, asset in the media industry. My dad was a newsman, and he gave me a red rubber band
I need to find that part.
from the newspaper printing whatever factory, and he would wear that red rubber band around his wrist because his dad gave it to him. He wore it for years. I mean, I don't know how long it takes for a red rubber band to like get old and break, whatever. I don't know, but
here we go. Yeah, we found it. So Conrad Flint's talking about Jesus on the cross as a tree. He's talking about everything is a tree, right? Even the plagues in that takeover in Revelation are just the plagues that ancient Israel found under Pharaoh. So the Bible, the Bibles, it's about the trees, and they talk about some stuff here that we'll get into later. They mention Aleister Crowley. They mention Nick Land, which I think we're going to save for some other stuff. And then it says, are you familiar with that? The symbol of that, like the tree, the Kabbalah tree? Tucker Carlson says no. And Conrad Flint says, I probably should have printed that out too. And then Tucker Carlson says, he just comes in, I wore a red rubber band from a newspaper on my wrist for most of my life, given to me by my father just as because he worked as a newspaper or at a newspaper. And I've been accused many times of being in the Kabbalah. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm an Episcopalian to research.
I don't know if this
I don't know if the translation is correct. It's something like that, and then
basically what it is.
So he goes on to say he doesn't know anything about Kabbalah. Yeah,
he says I don't know anything about it. I go straight to this. You wore a rubber band for your whole life that your dad gave you. I mean, okay. I mean, you could even see a world in which his dad gives him the red bracelet, this Kabbalah, whatever, whatever.
Right,
but it's another example of Tucker Carlson, like, recrafting his entire life, much like when we saw denying that his dad worked for the CIA, where he previously had referenced his dad working in the CIA, but he's like kind of recrafting this whole thing. So is Tucker Carlson, we know the CIA connection, kind of seems like some sort of Kabbalah connection, and which would make sense because then he's bringing this guy, what's his name? Conrad Flynn. Now, I don't know for sure. I have not dived in. It was just last night I heard it, so I haven't been able to dive into this Conrad Flynn guy. He gave the impression, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe he basically, paraphrased, said that he's not necessarily like a believing Christian, but that he's just, this is his area of research. Now, the guy is actually very impressive. His research, he's got it laid out. He's a good speaker. He lays the whole thing out from beginning to end throughout the whole podcast. Basically took 14 years of Canary Cry research and put it into an hour and a half podcast or whatever. And it's actually everything in there. I'm like, I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is on Tucker. I cannot believe this guy is like nailing it. And he comes at it more as like in sort of the like occult researcher, theosophical kind of, here's the occult data. He never really, jumps into anything about the gospel or anything like that. but you've got Tucker Carlson, the son of a newsman CIA guy who denies the attachment to the CIA, denies the Kabbalah, but also found like this perfectly crafted, non-Christian, very thoroughly researched guy to come and lay out the entire theory from start to finish in an hour and a half. I got to go back and listen to it again. And you know, one of the big part of it was Antichrist, the whole Antichrist conversation. We just had the rapture event or whatever.
Yeah, no, but, Basil, I mean, he talked about Crowley and Lamb. Remember the grayish alien?
No,
I mean, that's like one of the first episodes of CCR. Not that we're the only ones who covered it, but like just the logic of going to these areas almost like one after another. It's crazy.
Absolutely everything. It was laid out basically perfectly. But you know, he's not a sort of gospel believing Christian. So you've got the CIA Kabbalah, you know, agents of chaos, Tucker Carlson, bringing on this guy who has this perfectly crafted message and gets into the Antichrist. They go, who's the Antichrist? What's the Antichrist? And we just, Gons, after this last, you know, September 23rd rapture thing, we just did this huge piece on the show. Was it last episode? I don't know. The past couple episodes about Antichrist and kind of where
the Peter Thiel conversation of Antichrist.
Yeah. Where the mainstream is kind of, you know, getting it wrong with, you know, they're using the sort of left behind model of a guy in a suit when they're really talking about the beast or the man of lawlessness, this sort of narrativized thing. And he gets into the Antichrist and starts making this case, for AI being sort of this at least unwitting physical vessel for the demonic to come in and like act in our world. Again, very well laid out, you know, presentation of the theory, but also gets into Antichrist and not presenting it in the Antichrist mode. Like he's actually on it. Like he's, you know,
I mean, listen to this question from Tucker Carlson
to come on and say, oh, actually Putin's the Antichrist or whatever, you know, but he lays it out in this fairly, you know, I'm not going to say he had, you know, all of his biblical references perfectly laid out, but is on point for the most part.
The question that Tucker used to bring up this conversation is, okay, before we get into the Antichrist, what is the Antichrist? And then he said the Antichrist, in the same way, the figure of a Messiah or Christ is prefigured in the Bible throughout the Old Testament. Again, you know, if you've listened to the last episode, we kind of broke down the hard reality of that word Antichrist. You have types. You have figures and stories and symbols, and they're real people, but they're still prefigured. They prefigured the figure of Jesus, the most famous of which is Joseph. Joseph famously has 12 brothers. They're all named after the eventual tribes of Israel. He's sold into slavery by one of the brothers. The one that decides to do that is Judah. Do you know what Judah is translated in the Greek? Tucker Carlson says no. Conrad Flynn says Judas. So Judah, like Judas, hey, I've got a deal. Let's just sell this guy. He's horrible. Joseph. Okay, so he goes.
No. I mean, he actually is laying out a pretty good point here, meaning that Antichrist is not necessarily, like we've talked about, as it is presented in so many stereotypical sort of mainstream Christianity eschatology, as just a guy in a suit who you can point to and say, that's the Antichrist, but is this spirit that sort of inhabits different figures, different people, you know, like the Bible says. And so, you know, he's even on this sort of level where he's not coming on to Tucker to give this mainstream left behind sort of 90s eschatological doctrine that it's a single man in a suit necessarily. I mean, you can get into the man of lawlessness, you can get into the beast, you can get into all these sorts of things. But as far as like mainstream, he's the Antichrist. The fact that this sort of subtle, well-researched, you know, kind of thing,
he understands the nuance.
On Tucker Carlson was really bizarre. It was just really bizarre.
He mentions Arthur Pink with this interesting quote here. So the other main prefiguring figure in the Bible is the Antichrist, and aspects of him obviously is what's called the New Testament. But Arthur Pink has a book from 100 years ago, The Antichrist, which is very influential. And in evangelical circles, Arthur Pink was also a theosophist. So so you get into his kind of backside of the same doctrine type stuff. He previously was a theosophist, but whether it's Pharaoh being a type of Antichrist. So, I mean, he's referencing some things, and he is laying out some of the nuances, but bringing up, a little bit more of the details about the conversation to be had here, which is, it is interesting. It is interesting. In contrast to, because what we have right now is the topic Antichrist becoming much more, I mean, I'm sure the topic had its moment, in the 70s or something? I don't know if there was a 90s. Okay, 90s maybe. But, well, obviously technology, communication networks, everything is different today. But you have this sort of pinning of a public billionaire coming out with his sort of, I don't know, study. It's almost like the word went out. Hey, everybody do a little study on the Antichrist and present it to the world. And you have Peter Thiel, the Christian.
Bring it to the forefront.
The quote-unquote Christian gay man who has his take on the whole thing, which, of course, we covered over the past few episodes of, hey, I don't want Armageddon. I don't want the Antichrist either. I want the narrow path. And then you have this on Tucker Carlson, which seemingly is a little more nuanced, but like you said, it doesn't necessarily ground anything in the gospel, although he does talk about Jesus and the Bible and stuff. So it's clearly a topic of conversation, but I guess it gets into the mark of the beast and blockchain tech. So, hey, we're here, Basil. We've made it. We're finally at the part of the conversation on Tucker Carlson where, mark of the beast, blockchain, it's all part of the discussion. I believe they even mentioned the word ledger in this regard. Let me see if I can find that keyword.
Yeah, no, he basically straight up comes out and says, and he tells these stories about how, now this guy, okay, if I can remember correctly, don't quote me, I'm just going from memory here, but he's actually not nobody. He is the grandson of basically his entire family is a Hollywood family, like very famous actors. His grandfather was a very famous actor. His uncle was a famous producer. His, mom was whatever.
Check out his jawline. I mean, that is a Hollywood jawline.
A Hollywood jawline, right? Yeah, so he, part of the way that he presents himself as a credible, person is like he's in the Hollywood scene, like his whole family is, this is the community he's grown up in. And one of the main points that Tucker and he start out with was Tucker being like, oh yeah, we always knew that there were Satanists or wizards or black magic, and you go, maybe that guy's one, or like, oh, but it's just a word we use to kind of describe bad people or something. And he gets into, and Tucker kind of comes into, he says, well, now I know that there's actually a lot more actual literal Satanists. And he goes, yes, I'm from Hollywood. I get they're everywhere. It's basically the like national religion of Hollywood is actual real occultism or Satanism or whatever. And it's kind of ironic because this Conrad fellow is of Hollywood in the same way that Tucker is of the CIA. That's like the whole world in which was brought up that clouded his vision. Now they both claim that they grew up in those things and the veil has been lifted and now they see differently. And I pray that is the case, but it's also, you never know. So anyways, there's a lot of really interesting stuff in there.
Yeah. Just to wrap up one more thing. I did find the part where they are talking about blockchain technology. Here's the quote from Conrad Flynn. He says, so he's talking about VCs, and he was joking, like half joked about the mark of the beast with some of these guys. And he said, well, a lot of Christians believe that the COVID vaccine is the mark of the beast. And I said, it's probably not true. I said, but something I've heard, something that sounds a lot more like it is blockchain technology. This is like his interaction with VCs in Silicon Valley. And he's talking to Tucker about this. So he says, I said, but something I've heard, something that sounds a lot more like it, the mark of the beast, is blockchain technology, which is the technology we'll all be using in a few years for financial transactions, among other things. Everything's written and recorded, and every kind of transaction is written and recorded on it. And these VCs, they go, what's the mark of the beast? So I tell them about the book of Revelation. They go look up Revelation 13, and they go, huh. And so I hear back from them later, and they said, yeah, we talked to some of the other big people in Silicon Valley about this, recognizable people. And he said, well, what's the book of Revelation? What's the mark of the beast? And some other big dogs looked it up, and their reaction to that was, huh, that sounds like what this is. It was not, Tucker. That sounds crazy. Or I'm not religious, or what we're working on is so strange, but the Bible is an old book. We have nothing to worry about there. The reaction was, yeah, that sounds exactly like what the blockchain tech is. So that was the beginning of me kind of stumbling into a strange story about modern AI tech and stuff like that. So he stumbled into it from personal experience, Basil, not from some obscure podcast.
When he brought or whatever, who he was with or where he was around, when Revelation 13 was presented to the big Silicon Valley guys, they looked at it and just said, oh yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. That's it. That's what we're doing, which is like, and he didn't give timing on when exactly he did that, but it's interesting if that sort of correlated with the same time that maybe Peter Thiel started getting really obsessed with it.
They mentioned Mark Andreessen's Joe Rogan interview. That was what, a year ago? I think it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And he started bringing up some of the biblical stuff and Christian stuff in that context too. So, yeah, well, I mean, here we are. I'm at least I know that people tuning into this show are likely equipped to deal with this, to talk to people about it and know what it is,
That is kind of my whole vibe for today's entire show. I kind of mentioned it,
the resolve,
in the email, which is like everything that's going on around us. It's almost sort of eye-rollingly sort of too perfect. Again, the last couple days, Gons, I've been sitting there trying to go to sleep, being like, it is just too much that all of this stuff, our careers could have taken much different directions, Gons. Both you and I, we did not grow up planning to become weird fringe Christian podcasters, at the perfect time, getting started, like at the only time in history when you could probably actually, build something and have it go. But considering we built the entire thing around just the most obscure of the obscure kind of topics, and then to 14 years later, having it be the number one most, podcasted about genre of research is sort of freaking me out a little bit. And I think it's freaking you out a little bit too. And so,
it is,
on one hand, it's kind of, we're looking around being like, oh my gosh, it's all happening. This is exactly what we've been talking about. Like that alone, the experience of being here is very like, okay, stay calm. All right. But the fact that it's like, I mean, how in the world is the, simulation just plugged directly into this podcast? I don't know. And then part of me goes, well, what the heck? Why aren't we
on Tucker
or whatever? And then I take a breath and I go, thank God
we're not on Tucker Carlson.
God, I do not need
it's so true. It is. I don't think there are many people who understand this emotional roller coaster that is sort of the cards we've been dealt, I suppose. But yeah, the one, I'll just mention it because I don't want to go down the whole thing because I did, and I think I went into some kind of psychosis. But in the interview, Conrad Flynn mentioned something. He says that there's a book by Nick Land. Now, I've never heard of Nick Land, but apparently he is big in the foundational stuff with AI is sort of a religious thing. Yeah, I mean, maybe I've come across him before, but I don't.
Cyberneticist type.
Cyberneticist, right. There's a lot of cyberneticists. But he had this thing, this project, which was from like, I believe in like the mid 90s. It allegedly ended in the early 2000s. It's called CCRU, and it stands for Cultural Cybernetic Research Units, which is a group of academics that are looking at whatever. It says, according to Conrad Flynn, they were very much based off of Genesis P's Temple of Psychic Youth, where the ideas come from Burroughs, which is used in modern tech for full occult purposes, like William Burroughs, The Occult World, and all that stuff. So and you know, you go to their website, because I did find the website, Basil, for the CCRU, and it is just straight up like the most occult looking thing ever. Like it's right. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it other than sigils and, you know, looks like circuitry and stuff like that. So
Cons, we have talked about using the acronym of CCRU for Canary Cry Radio University.
Yeah, I know.
We would have had the exact same branding as this crazy occult cyberneticist institution.
And we talked about the same issues.
That's
from
what I mean.
A completely opposite perspective, from the biblical kind of perspective. And yeah, that's kind of where I started to lose my mind a little bit. We'll save it for another episode.
Well, and in the same way that in this podcast, those who listen, you know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of what we talk about too, is the mirroring effect, the parallel, the counterfeiting of the enemy, right? We talk about one interesting thing that he mentioned was like, okay, you have the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. In the end times or eschatologically, he refers to this kind of mirroring or parallel Trinity, being sort of dark Trinity, being the Father being Satan, the Son being Antichrist, and the Holy Spirit being the digital world. So everything in this sort of cybernetic counterfeiting of the spiritual world, which we've talked about forever, this sort of parallel universe that is the internet, the digital world, everything, which is technically, I mean, it is as real as anything else that is in real life. It is just as tangible. It's
just as consequential.
Consequential is the word, right? Than anything else. And so he's talking about this sort of digital cybernetic world that we've created as a sort of dark counterfeit of the Holy Spirit, meaning this, you know, sort of presence of the darkness that is everywhere and affects everything in the same way the Holy Spirit, alternatively, you know, is God's presence on earth. And so, yeah, I mean, it really is. So the irony of that is we're looking at CCRU and we're looking at what our CCRU would have been. They would have been almost total mirror of each other.
The total mirror.
Theirs being coming from the sort of a dark occult side, ours coming from the biblical side, being almost like the exact same curriculum, but just from the two different sides of good versus
I mean, if
evil.
if that is not the Holy Spirit working, just, I don't know. I almost said through us, but it doesn't even feel that way. You know, it's just, it feels, we feel so apart from like actually having anything to do with any of this other than, you know, carrying out the tasks that need to be carried out. But yeah, if that's not the Holy Spirit at work, just to kind of prove like, hey, you know, there's something more to this than even we understood. Because why would, and also I was thinking about it, why would this individual Nick Land and CCRU fall under, at least for me, like my radar? You know, I had that moment of like, maybe I did run across it, but it was like a little obscure and it kind of put notes on it or whatever. But like, man, what?
Back when we were, that might be maybe what it was, one of the reasons why we never followed through with CCRU.
Oh, maybe we found it.
We would have, you know, checked the Google, you know, results, and it just comes up with this mirror image opposite of what we were trying to do. It's probably why we didn't end up doing it.
It's possible, yeah.
Okay,
but,
so
there you go.
On this theme, okay, let's kind of stick with the theme. We're talking about the digital world, this like dark mirroring of, you know, at least metaphorically being sort of this counterfeit Holy Spirit. We've talked about the internet digital world as a counterfeit spiritual realm, again, attached with sort of the Tower of Babel and man's technological quest to become gods themselves, part of godhood is creation of worlds, creation of reality, control over things around us. And we've, again, through direct participation and influence of occultists for 100 years, we would not have the digital world as we have it now if it were not for the occultists of the 20th century. It just wouldn't happen. They were they were
much like rocketry.
Much like rocketry, right? Yeah. With JPL and what's his face? Jack Parsons. Exactly. Yeah. Much like we wouldn't have rocket ships, we wouldn't have missiles, we wouldn't have space, anything to do with space if we didn't have the famous occultist Jack Parsons. We wouldn't have the internet if it weren't for various other famous occultists in the 20th century. So that's kind of where we're at. And it's like a part, whether we like it or not, it is a primary part of the world now. It's where people get most of their interaction, most of their information. Pretty much everything they know about the world at this point comes from the internet. And that's also why we can barely trust anything we know about the world, is because it comes to us through this mirror darkly. We're gazing into this scrying mirror that is the internet, the digital world, right? And less are we able to actually trust what's going on. And this is a good thing for all of us to remember, because I get triggered here once in a while watching other people just so certain. Usually it's if it's coming from the left. Just that, like, part of my interest is like, how in the world are we all living in totally different universes, just totally different versions of reality? It's the only way that we could get such violence, that we could get such madness between groups of people. You have to be missing a basic ground of reality. And we are, because of the internet, for a lot of different reasons. Part of it is, on purpose, the human intelligences who are purposefully creating these different universes. Thank you, Tucker's family and Conrad's family, who both come from lineages of social engineering reality crafting.
Speaking of trees, by the way, and family trees. And
right, family trees, right. Yeah. But of course, now we are dealing with AI. Now, for those who have been online in the past 5 days, you may have noticed a big jump in basically our determination that we now cannot believe literally anything that we see. Over the weekend, there's been this escalation with the National Guard and ICE and Chicago and the protests in Portland and all these arrests. I mean, there's just floods everything. I cannot lay my eyes on the internet without this full-on assault of this situation going between the federal government. The mayor of Chicago is calling Chicago an ICE-free zone. I mean, there's like straight up insurrection going on. You've got the Portland police abandoning ICE, and they're getting attacked and rammed by vehicles. And these videos upon videos upon videos. And there was a video going around sort of casually coming from an anti-MAGA account, and just casually posted this, no big deal, said something like, I don't know, this is how they are, or something. And for those who are listening, it's a video of what looks to be a conservative man, an American flag on his t-shirt, standing in front of what seemed to be some positioned National Guard, and he's being interviewed, a microphone in his face, and he gives this answer.
The whole point of the Second Amendment is so that people can rise up against a tyrannical government,
How bad would it have to get for people to actually take up arms?
Basically like this, but if a Democrat was in charge.
Okay, so very short, very simple, right? Saying that's why we have the Second Amendment, is to rise up against a tyrannical government. And why, when would you have to do that? What would have to happen? He says, basically all this, but just if a Democrat was in charge. Now, this is being posted to like be like, oh, look at the hypocrites.
It's
Look,
the same,
the
it's the same thing.
the right does want violence. You know, they're the only reason they're not violent is because Trump is in charge. They would be just as violent if Biden was in charge, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for those who are just listening, I'll just tell you, and there's a little bit of lag on the screen. So even visually, there were some things, you know, the audio didn't quite match up, at least on my side here. But it's fully AI. We already know this. I told you this. But it's getting way more difficult to tell. Now, for this one in particular,
what gave it away for you? Because for me, it was the audio. There's something about the sound that AI
have a
generates.
weird little... Yeah, it's almost like an echo or something.
Yeah, it's a weird resonance to it.
Yeah, there's something weird to it. But for me, it was the gun the guy's holding behind him. Because you look at that gun, it's kind of blocked in that one frame you got there. Yeah, see if you're able to zoom in on it. If you're a gun person and you see the gun that the soldier's holding, it's just this abomination mixture, like Nephilim hybrid, corrupting the image.
You're talking about the guys behind him?
The guy behind him, the rifle there to his right. It looks like this abominable mix of an AR-15 and an AK-47. And, you know,
is that guy right here?
Yeah, that one. If you're not really, you know what you're looking at, or if you're not looking directly at it, like it just looks like the guy's holding a gun. But you zoom in, and it is just the craziest looking rifle, and specifically is very humorous because it's got the lower end, the back half of an AR-15, and the front half of an AK-47. Which, you know, I don't know.
I know the prompt. The prompt was AK-47 style gun, and then boom,
yeah,
you got
AR, style,
or AR-15
rifle,
style,
right?
AR-15.
Which, you know, is kind of it's a bit of a gun person joke because there's a big war between AK-47 enjoyers and AR-15 lovers, and so
is that another gun on that guy's back, or is that an umbrella? What is going on there?
Looks like he's holding it up vertically, but again, but
his hands are holding it across his chest.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really look that close. It's a little blurry, but he's so anyways, it is AI. Okay, we know this, and you really actually, unless you got an ear like Audio Master Guns and you can hear the sort of weird resonance, or if you got an eye for, you know, weird abominations of rifles, you can kind of spot it. But it's pretty good, and I'll tell you what, most people didn't know or couldn't tell, because it is really good as far as the tells that you get from other AI things. The mouth's working, the teeth look good, the hands are fine, you know, the clothes work. It's pretty convincing. Well, this is a result of now obviously the easiest way for anybody to tell this was AI is that it had the Sora watermark.
Yeah, the watermark. Yeah,
and that's the thing that really blew my mind. Just like it says Sora.
People believed it was real. It's got the Sora watermark, but it may become law.
But if people don't know what Sora is, that watermark could just be anything. It could be, you know, the name of the guy who made it or the gal whose account made it. You know, watermarks are not that strange. But Sora 2 just came out. Now, Sora 2 is really freaking out AI people. And I thought it would be a good opportunity just to kind of mention it and check in as a Canary Cry family one more time about really the state of where we're at and the ways we need to really be careful. Of course, we got to be careful when it comes to, you know, don't believe everything you see on the internet. At this point, just don't believe anything you see on the internet. But also, you know, the way in which we should be perceiving reality around us at all. One interesting thing about Sora 2, when it was by invite only, so right now only invite only people can see it.
I know, I can't. I'm not in. What is this? They're siloing me out. This is
so.
We need a revolution.
Yeah, here's a screenshot from somebody who did get into the invite only thing. And this is a warning that it's given you when you get started. It says, welcome to the new Sora. You're entering an AI generated world. Faces may be familiar, but nothing is real. Get started. You can share videos to Sora's feed where others can remix them and comment on them. And we may train on your content or use ChatGPT memories to suggest content, all controllable in settings. So it's connected to your ChatGPT memories, and it's built a little bit more like its own social media site. Right. And a couple things that Sora now lets you do that was not really allowed on any other AI platform. I mean, you could do it, but you kind of had to go rogue a little bit. But this is all built into the platform. You can actually upload your own likeness and allow other people to use it to create astonishingly, convincing videos. And there's certain influencers and stuff who have made their likeness be, accessible, and now there's just endless amounts of content being created with these certain people's faces, and you can do it too. Obviously, it seems like the absolute worst possible thing you could possibly do, but because it's being presented in this like social media way, and we're all sort of trained to not be, especially when it comes to influencers or chronically online people, you hear the excuse all the time, like, oh, I'm already on the internet. Oh, my pictures are already on the internet. Oh, my data is already out there, So there's a sort of disturbing amount of people who are like, I'm already in it. I'm already doing it. Okay, I'll make my likeness available for other people. And it's just a total free-for-all now. You're playing
the ones,
videos.
Yeah, I'm playing the clips, and the thing that, the ones that are crazy are kind of, you can still tell it's not realistic, not legitimately real. It's the ones that are
the
like
absurd ones. You got to
the absurd ones are fine.
Point. The ones you're playing now, it was the ones they released as the like promo, and it's a bunch of absurd stuff, like dogs doing tricks on the water or two horses riding each other, and they look great, but because they're absurd, they're less offensive. You're like, oh, it's
the ones. And that's the thing. There's a couple in here, and we'll get to them because they'll cycle through. There's one where there's some people playing beach volleyball, which, I mean, they look pretty convincing. But there's another one. There's one right here, the skateboarder. There's nothing about this video that's like, oh, that's AI, or this dog running through some, whatever. Some
dog's a little glitchy.
The dog is a little glitchy with the lightsaber thing, but I mean, or this guy doing backflips. Looks very challenging, but not entirely unconvincing, especially things that are a little more mundane. That's where I think the dangers are. A guy jumping into the pool with a cannonball.
That's right.
That is, that's not outlandish. That's not crazy.
No reason to think.
No reason to think it's AI. That's the dangerous part. Yeah.
The really impressive one was the gymnast one in there.
Right.
The
gymnast,
gymnast on the balancing beam. And it's particularly concerning because AI gymnast content is really big because it's really funny, because AI, once the gymnast gets moving, AI doesn't know what limbs are going where. And, sort of hilariously, a gymnast AI content turns into this like leggy monstrosity of turning flesh, when they're moving around. So they
got my likeness.
Oh, there you go. Got the kung fu guy in the water.
This is last year. I don't know why they have. Okay. Anyway, go on. Continue.
Yeah. So anyways, it's especially if it's of something unremarkable, it's basically impossible to tell the difference. Now, let's see here. I had a couple clips of people who made some content thinking about this. We could, what do you think? Should we play them? Let's play. I don't know. So let's try this first one. I think they're pretty.
The gal, okay.
Yeah, let's play the gal. I believe there's nothing inappropriate in here, but I could try to make this point. But look, she's making this point. Let's listen a little bit to what she has to say.
To say this because I know that Sam Altman would love to hear me say this, but I unfortunately believe it. Sora 2 is historic. The camera was invented in 1816, the video camera in 1888, the digital camera in 1975. The first commercially available phone with a built-in camera was released in 1999, and OpenAI's Sora 2 was released 2 days ago. I'm not going to put around the reality of this. Sora 2's release represents the beginning of a new era, in which AI-generated videos are no longer distinguishable from real ones. There had been a lot of mythos in the public about what AI was capable of producing, and now the technology available to consumers has actually caught up with that mythos. Videos that Sora 2 is able to produce are far more physically realistic than previous models. It also now makes available to consumers the ability to capture your likeness in an AI-generated video. Before Sora 2, if you wanted to create a likeness video of me talking, or you talking, or your friends talking, or doing things, riding dragons, whatever, you were able to do that, but you had very limited control over the audio. The audio was really wonky in those situations, and so it was basically unusable for those cases, unless you had access to the models, which, like, if you are in the US government, you probably have direct access to. But that's a digression, just a little asterisk. My point is that the videos that we are seeing come out of Sora 2 just look so much more realistic than any AI-generated videos before. We are now in an era where, in many cases, even an expert in this wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And that is why I call it historic. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras was composed in around 400 CE, so over a millennium ago. And in it, line 7, it says, Pratyakshanumana pramanani. This line, again, composed in 400 CE, discusses epistemology, sources of knowledge. How do we know that anything is true? Patanjali offers that there are 3 sources of true knowledge. First, pratyaksha, direct observation. Second, anumana, logical inference, math, deduction. And third is the testimony of reliable sources. There was a time of about a couple hundred years now where we treated seeing a photo or seeing a video comparably to directly observing something. We knew something was true because we saw a photo of it. We saw a video of it. That era has ended. For better or for worse, photos and videos no longer represent direct observation of reality. They now represent something that can help us understand reality through the testimony of reliable sources. And so we are going to have to rely more on who is posting this video. Were they the ones who shot it? We will have to rely on the testimony of people surrounding the videos in order to place whether it is real. As you would expect from any intellectually rigorous philosophical tradition, this third category of knowledge was regarded as the most suspect. This Sora 2 release has a very real impact in how we understand reality, but I want to emphasize that this is not a post-real world that we are living in. For as long as humans have been around, we have been trying to make sense of what is real and what is not. Which sources can we trust and which sources can't we? This is just an evolution in that.
She ends with a very optimistic tone that I'm not so optimistic with. But she talks about a Sanskrit philosophy, some Sanskrit philosophy, which is actually reflected in a lot of Western philosophy too, which is, how do we know what we know? We have direct perception or experience with something. We have logic, what we can infer, putting, what we know about the world together, and then the witnesses, third-party witnesses of something. And, we've relied on this video and photo thing for so long, and Photoshop has been around, and it's caused problems in the past, but you had to be pretty dang good at Photoshop to fool people, even up to the 2015, 2016, something like that. You really had to work at it. And Guns, you and I had to do Photoshop stuff all the time for the podcast. So we understand really how difficult it is to make something convincing. But the fact that, AI is one thing, but AI has been hilariously unreliable for video and photo creation for some time now. But a lot of people are coming to the point with Sora 2 that in mundane cases, in cases that you're not trying to make a video of something absolutely ridiculous, it can be almost impossible to detect whether something is real or not. So we've sort of moved into this era. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. It's been building up for many years now, but it's a good opportunity with this new release of Sora 2 to just really dial in on okay, we as believers, we as followers of Christ, the truth is very important to us, and seeking truth is, one of the top priorities that we hold in trying to make our way through this earth, through this reality that God's put us in. And, specifically certain dangers come along with relying on previous models of what we can trust and what we can't trust. Now, what she ends with is, all we really will have, and to a degree, all we really do have right now is whose testimony are we trusting? We have to trust the source of things. We have to trust, the person who is sharing the information, because the percentage of guarantee that even seeing a perfectly convincing video of something is actually true is getting lower and lower and lower. And, I would certainly make the case that who can you really trust with something? Well, probably not somebody who's making their money based on the amount of people that look at something, the amount of people they can advertise to, the amount, the cheap clicks, they call it. If somebody getting cheap clicks or mass views, they'll do anything they need to do to get those without much sort of conscience attached to it, So building this trust, not just between each other in real life, but between us and these, weird social or parasocial relationships that you can build with a Twitter account that you follow and trust, or podcasters that you follow and trust, is becoming basically the most important thing you can do. And who can you trust? How do you know you can trust someone? Well, that's very difficult, but there's, of course, what's the motivation? Are they motivated by clicks or views, or are they motivated by something else? And then the sort of moral or ethical reliability of that person, Are they a believer? Do they have their eternal well-being wrapped up in telling the truth? Or is, money take precedent? Who do they worship? These are all very important things. Did you have any comments about that?
Yeah. So, there's a lot there. There's a lot. The socially affecting an entire generation. We were talking a little bit before the show started about how, there's an entire generation we learn from watching. I remember growing up, wanting to get more footage of guitar players because I wanted to get better at guitar. I had to buy a VHS of some guitar tutorial thingies that were way out of my league, but I watched it over and over again. Or I found Metallica playing live. I watched it over and over again. That's how I learned. And so, and now I often talk about how there's a whole bunch of genius savant musicians now because they grew up with YouTube. They grew up with tutorials and different things that allow them to learn a piece of music much faster or with more detail. And in turn, I've also discussed how a lot of musicians have been inspired by electronic music, like drummers, for instance. Drummers nowadays have the ones that are, that grew up in this era have a timing that is almost inhuman, because they've been playing along to perfectly synced tracks their whole life. It's never been, the other musicians and rock especially has been a little bit more wonky when it comes to the tempo, but everything is spot on now. And that influence of digitized music onto actual musicians is a real tangible thing. So in the same way, what is going to happen to our world and what we try to do or try to accomplish if an entire generation is being raised with things that look real but aren't? I don't know. Are they going to be bored with reality? Are they going to be disappointed with actual reality when they walk out and it's not so easy to get a horse, to ride a horse that's standing on another horse, or whatever the thing is, or it's just
before you move on to your next point, we should play this next clip because you transitioned into it perfectly, I think.
Okay. This is the gentleman talking.
Yeah, right.
Okay, here we go.
OpenAI killed it with their latest video model that is mostly undetectable for most people. Old tells that you used to use like eyes and teeth and hands and skin, mostly fixed. They introduced some new artifacts that I'm going to be teaching people how to spot, but I'm not naive. Most people will not want to put in the effort to decide if every video on their For You page is real or not. That's going to get people to tune out because most people want to keep reality. There is a small number of AI-focused people who are super stoked about this and pushing it on everyone. It is going to create massive distrust in our society because, unfortunately, this is where most people spend a lot of their free time. It's going to eventually hopefully pivot us to subscriber or follower-based models where we know who to trust. So if you want to learn how to spot the differences, I'm going to be making videos on it so that you can figure out who to trust while it is still kind of detectable. The reality is, though, like, I don't know who's going to be scrolling TikTok or Instagram if they literally can't tell what's real or not. Maybe you don't care if some AI bunnies are AI bunnies, that's cool, but once you start not being able to tell who's human or not, it's going to become a pretty unpleasant way to spend your time. Hopefully, some more AI safety regulations are put into place, or we could just, stop the whole thing. But in the meantime, you need to start following the people you trust, because that's where we're headed.
Follow this guy. You can trust him.
Now, we have the Hegelian dialectic here, because I think the point he makes is very on point, which is once everything on social media, if it's not obviously AI, you have to assume that it is AI and you can't trust anything. This inherently requires what we've seen the Democrats push for in 2020 and beyond, and of course what we know the establishment, even those on the right, want essentially for the power structure of society, which is they have to absolutely overwhelm and sort of bring the population to a point of despair when it comes to getting your information from decentralized sources. And that takes a couple different things. But number one is, by the time you can't trust a single thing you see on the internet, they need to coalesce and congeal reality back down to using authority. And this is where it probably won't be Fox News or CNN or cable news as it stands, but there will be some sort of recoagulating of authority of truth to an establishment controlled thing. And maybe that's just as simple as like, the president's Twitter account or something. Although the current president's Twitter account is filled with AI, sombrero
AI trolling sombrero over the weekend.
Right.
Which is hilarious, but yeah.
So it like absolutely requires this mandate. I mean, society cannot hold together in the way that gives the established power structure the power it wants without taking some drastic steps, not towards cleaning up, getting rid of the AI. And I think that's where this guy's wrong and where a lot of people are wrong. And I think it's a bit of a red herring. The idea that like, oh, we got to clean up social media. We got to ban AI videos. No. They don't want to do that. They want it to be as chaotic and untrustworthy as possible so that they can, congeal everything back to a centralized power in information structure. I think we're in this liminal period right now where I don't even think we can even imagine what that looks like, because distrust in establishment altogether is just absolutely peaking, right? Nobody.
I was going to say, I would love to play with Sora just to come up with some interesting imagery that can retell the Genesis story or whatever. There's already some articles out there that we never got to last week about that, this idea of edutainment. And there was an interview with a guy from pray.com, and he's like, I didn't know anything about the Nephilim until I got on pray.com, and I started asking questions about, asking the AI of pray.com, tell me about some topics about the Bible I don't know about, and it taught me about the Nephilim and stuff. So it's like, it's already beginning to happen. I'd rather, in a sense, demonstrate responsibility when it comes to this stuff, but it is going to be terrifying. I've already seen Christian leaders out there say, if you publish an AI video, automatic block. It's like, okay, well, it's, I guess it depends on the context. Like if it's a AI video of a cartoon robot chasing us or whatever, or, an AI image of some alien DNA chasing after you and I, Basil, trying to podcast. Is he going to block us? I mean, it's pretty obvious that this is not a real situation here, but it's just a fun little thing. So there's a way to use it responsibly, but how do we know when it is used for nefarious reasons? And I think that's the philosophical. Oh my gosh, that is very loud in my ear. That's the philosophical question. There is something before we get into some other parts of the AI conversation, just as a reference here and to bring it to scripture a little bit. A reminder, I was to address this AI topic. Everybody talks about Revelation 13. We've talked about it plenty of times. I've spent probably more time in Revelation chapter 13 than literally any other book or chapter, which is probably not a great thing, but that's just kind of the reality of my sort of, time doing this kind of work. And for me, it's like, okay, yes, there is a prophecy about an inanimate object which receives breath and basically demands worship or you get killed. And so, and we got confirmation on the Tucker Carlson interview that people in Silicon Valley are looking at that scripture going, yes, this is what we're building, this thing that is going to facilitate, all your lives. But how do we combat it in a tangible type of way? What is, biblically speaking, what can we do? And it really just goes back to guarding your heart, guarding your mind, and certain scriptures that are so fundamental, almost like, I don't know, if you grew up in church or something, it might be like, oh yeah, this scripture again. But to me, I wasn't a Christian my whole life, so I don't know how this hits people who are, but just your basic type of scriptures that apply a little differently when it comes to our time now, currently with what's emerging. For example, Philippians 4 verses 6 through 7, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This idea, like, don't be anxious, because anxiety is a very powerful emotion that is invoked with social media, with, I'm assuming, AI, or just any kind of video, and it doesn't even have to be AI, any kind of footage associated with some kind of narrative that is meant to scare you, meant to bring out the anxiety out of you. I would imagine AI-generated content, especially if it's used unethically, can very much douse the entire world with anxiety. Right. And so just having a scripture like that and knowing, like, okay, don't be anxious about anything, prayer, supplication, thanksgiving, ground yourself with God, guard your hearts, because that's the thing. They're trying to get at your heartstrings. That's all social media is. That's all the internet is. You talked about the black mirror, or this, sort of false reality that is presented to us, even real reality being presented to us through that black mirror. And how do we not get completely sucked into what it wants us to do, which is an emotional reaction, eventually, psychological, intellectual, all these different layers. We have to not be anxious about anything, which is hard to do, Basil, because we see these things and we have these carnal reactions to what we're seeing. And, there's some people that are out there who have, influencer types that have had their community make all sorts of AI video and images of them doing stuff. And their commentary was, wow, I don't remember doing that, whatever it is, like mine for gold on the moon or whatever, fun AI image they made. But he, even he was like, I'm starting to kind of question, it's starting to mess with my memory, as if I actually did do that. I'm asking myself, did I really do that? Because the images start to program your experience, your history, so to speak, in not so good way if it's your likeness. If you get we have millions of pictures of ourselves, Basil, from the last 20 years of social media. Humanity is captured, surveilled. Forget the government. I mean, we've publicly published all of our everything all over the place. And now AI is able to take all that data and just show us what we want to see. And that's probably not a great thing in the long term, and can be definitely misused for nefarious reasons, from large scale to small scale. So yeah, just one scripture. There's another one here, Colossians 3:2. Set your minds on things that are above, not on the things that are on earth. Of course, we are seeing all this stuff on the earth. And so, focusing on the things above becomes almost like the only thing you can do other than like walking outside and just living life that way and doing in real life things. When it comes to the internet, you have to really kind of focus on the things above. Otherwise, you might get sucked into whatever the operation is to get you to move a certain way or react a certain way. I mean, we just had the Charlie Kirk situation. I hate to bring it up, but that footage is still being analyzed by people. They're sitting there watching the footage frame by frame. And I'm sure that's not great for your mind.
And can you even trust the footage anymore?
Can you even trust the footage anymore? Yeah.
Where do you get, unless you're like unless you personally
sat there and watched it
off of the memory card that was in the camera there's no way to trust any of the footage. One thing that was very interesting, now just to crawl back to the Tucker Carlson, Conrad, what's his face, sort of psyop thing there. One thing again that really blew my mind a little bit, and again pulling back to see it in the psyop format, right? I'm just assuming we have to come at everything with that
at this point.
Even Conrad, again, the guy who I don't think professed to actually be a Bible believing Christian, he makes the point about how the devil is not like a co-equal enemy with God, and the end times, the Antichrist, the beasts, AI, it is quite literally apocalyptic, but it is not outside the sovereign will of God. We know biblically, and we all know by experience in our lives, that things that we deem to be, horrible, bad things that shouldn't happen, all work for the good of, God's plan and God's plan for us and his love for us, even if it's outside of our earthly understanding of what's, loving or what's good or whatever. Of course, that conversation is kind of the default argument for atheists or something who just can't comprehend the idea that there's bigger things going on. The Antichrist, the end of the world, it is not happening in spite of the will of God. It's happening because of the will of God. And, again, looking at that whole interview from the sort of psyop part of it, contrasting it with the Peter Thiel, we can stop the Antichrist, we can stop the apocalypse, I'm a Christian, let's stop the end times. I'm like, oh, this is like a really, really bizarre and very, again, I kind of use the word too much, but sort of elegant psyop to present an alternative to the sort of wacky Peter Thiel default, sort of nonsense idea of it. And so even on that side of the psyop, it's like, you can tell they're like, there's a bunch of these Christians who are not freaking out too much. They're not freaking out enough about the Antichrist. They got this wacky idea that it's all in the will of God anyways. So, okay, we got to figure out a way to
dial it up, start pushing the dials up, make it hotter.
Suck them back in, give them an outlet that they don't automatically turn off because of their spiritual maturity.
Right. I was thinking about this too. Now that, just jumping back to Sora, now that we have Sora and the realism of AI generated images becoming mature, I am sure that this is the level of AI that Sam Altman saw maybe, 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, which prompted him to go, I need to make WorldCoin. I need to make sure the humans know how to validate themselves. How are humans going to validate themselves if all this footage is, pumps the internet and people can't tell if real people are real people anymore? There must be a method. And so he launches WorldCoin, which, it's quietly kind of sitting there and not getting a whole lot of popularity or traction because it's like the most dystopic thing ever. It's still there and it's not going away. Here's the thing about crypto. Yeah, the crypto, you can't really kill stuff on crypto so easily. So that's kind of the problem with it. But yeah, I mean, I can see how Sam Altman tried to get ahead of the problem reaction solution, Hegelian dialectic, by creating WorldCoin. It makes sense that he's all over biometric confirmation. And of course, with the stuff going on in England right now with the digital IDs, I mean, I don't think we're too far away from having a crisis in America that requires all of us to validate ourselves in a biometric type of way.
Oh, you're going to have to scan your iris every time you press post on Twitter. It's going to be connected to your phone. Yeah. It's going to be, it's not going to be WorldCoin. It's going to be Elon's version because, he's at war with Sam Altman. So he'll
just get the Neuralink. It'll do it for you. You get to give the proof of flesh, proof of brain flesh.
Eventually,
on the microchip before
every time you press post, it's going to say, look into your camera, and it's going to scan your eyeballs, and that's going to digitally go onto the, the blockchain. It's going to be in the metadata that you physically were there, scanned your eyeballs when you press post. And it's the only way to guarantee, quote unquote, guarantee that you did it. Right. Along the same lines, it's not just social media. Just a quick mention of this. It's not a new concept, but it is a new story. Meet Tilly Norwood, the AI actress making Hollywood very nervous. Tilly Norwood has perfect skin, symmetrical features, and 0 days off. She also doesn't exist. The digital actress is the first creation of Particle 6 Productions, a UK-based company blending filmmaking with artificial intelligence. Her creator, physicist turned producer, Eline van der Velden, says Tilly was built to be the kind of star studios dream about, versatile, tireless, and immune to bad press. Quote, "We want Tilly to be the next Scarlett Johansson or Natalie Portman," van der Velden told Broadcast International. Quote, "People are realizing that their creativity doesn't need to be boxed in by a budget or human actors, apparently." Van der Velden's team at Zykoa, the AI talent division of Particle 6, has spent months fine-tuning Tilly's face and performance using 10 different AI programs. They've released clips showing her crying, laughing, delivering lines in multiple genres. The result is unnerving. An actress who looks ready for BAFTA, but can be reprogrammed with a prompt. And it goes through the story. It was basically released on the film circuit, the film festival circuit, that this company, Particle 6, created a package, a product, which is this AI actress that can be plugged into basically, any film. And there's talk about how exactly this will look. People are criticizing the media material of her, finding some classic AI mistakes like misspelling in pictures, on posters on the wall and stuff. But as far as the actual human goes, it's dialed in pretty good. Now, SAG-AFTRA, which is the actors' unions, they're releasing statements reminding everyone that Tilly Norwood is not an actor. It's a character generated by a computer program trained on the work of countless professional performers without permission or compensation. The reason Hollywood's actually freaking out quite a bit about her right now is that after the presentation, it was so convincing. Now, think about what would have had to be so convincing, because anybody can go press a button and create a fake person with AI. But the material that they put together was so convincing that they actually had multiple talent agencies rush to basically start a bidding war to start representing this particular fake actress person. Now, of course, there's lots of problems with this. The obvious ones, actors don't want to get put out of work. They're afraid of being replaced, et cetera, et cetera. But my first impression was not the fear that this will get rid of the acting profession, but more interestingly, get rid of the directing profession. Because, you watch these cinematic AI, clips, and
almost trailer-like, if you want it.
Yeah. And what a director really, the director's job is to direct the actors, to tell the actor how to act. But if the actor doesn't, 90% of a director's job on set is to help the actor remember their sad childhood or something.
Right.
So that they're
Invoke an
able-
emotion to be carried on the yeah.
Yeah, work with the actor to like, no, okay, so in this scene, it's more like the sadness of your dog dying mixed with the confusion of, you know, being in puberty, you know, kind of weird stuff like that.
Right.
But that's kind of like the main sort of benefit or skill of a good director. But if, you know, these things are just made with prompts, not only are the human actors in trouble, but you know, a human actor could license their image. You know, they could say, okay, give me money, you can use my face and whatever, make me do whatever you want. That's still an option. But as far as directors, it basically just turns a director into a prompt engineer. They just, you know, are involved with the prompting of getting AI. So it's, you know, Hollywood, the big surprise is how much they actually are freaking out about this. They're talking about doing, you know, more strikes, et cetera, et cetera. And it all comes at the time when LA is basically shutting down. There's a new round of articles this past weekend about, you know, between the fires and COVID and this and that, basically the film industry is down about 40%. Like 40% of people aren't working, 40% of the money isn't getting spent in LA. And as far as LA is concerned, it's pretty apocalyptic for them. So it's like on that background, that sort of situation in LA, which remember, it's not all actors and directors, it's the camera people. You start making AI films, the camera people are out of work, the sound people are out of work, the editors are out of work, everybody basically goes out of work. And you know, it's putting Trump in this very interesting situation where now he's talking about tariffing foreign made films to kind of court the LA scene a little bit. But you know, now not only is social media totally overrun by AI, it's possible that Hollywood, the entire professional entertainment industry, goes a certain, you know, goes down the toilet. It's happening much faster than sort of we expected. And yes, it is a little bit harder to feel negatively about traditionally, in the words of their own family tree, the Hollywood sort of seen satanic kind of evil, perverse, you know, industry going down the drain. There's not necessarily nothing to celebrate about that. But, you know, as far as economics and things, it's not a good scene over there. And as fun as sort of the photorealistic Sora 2 things are, man, Sora 2 can basically just throw together an entire episode of a cartoon perfectly together. There's like Dragon Ball Z episodes. There's this fun one here. Guns, you watched Attack on Titan, right?
Of course.
The anime here. This is just a fun clip where somebody made an Attack on Titan mixed with SpongeBob. So someone's out there, they gotta see this. I don't know who it is, but this is for you.
This is titled Attack on Plankton.
There's full.
Plankton, you wanted the whole ocean to bow to you. Instead, you made me realize something. Freedom isn't served on a plate. Yeah! Cross-cut strike! Bikini bottom safe. For now.
Just like a perfect mixture rendition. I mean, animators, those are the real victims here, Guns.
Well, yes, but also it's going to allow creators to create. There's no more excuses. Everybody must have a cartoon. I mean, I think that's where we're heading here. If you don't have a cartoon,
that's how we save Canary Cry, man. Maybe that's how we save this thing. We got to start using Sora 2 to make like an Adventures of Basil and Gons.
I mean, that's
animated thing.
I'm pretty sure.
We got to do something, Gons. We got to figure something out, and who knows? Maybe that's what does it.
Should it be photorealistic, or are you talking like we turn into anime characters?
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
Okay.
It's like
keep Keeping it absurd. All right.
We got to make it easier. We got to make it a cartoon. Gotta, we could probably just take all the transcripts from every single episode, pump it into AI, say, write a season of a
write 4,000 episodes. Yeah, 40,000 video clips, 30-second each episode of the adventures of Basil and Gons, and we'll be good for 40,000 days or so.
Well, yeah, but we don't even need to do full episodes now. Make us.
No, I know. It's 30 seconds. 30 seconds per episode.
4,000, right? Yeah, the social posts, and that's how we'll keep
survive this apocalypse.
The same line. On the same line here, New York Post. Did you want to take that? I was just going to mention Elon Musk announces XAI building Grokpedia to rival Wikipedia amid bias accusations. Oh, bias accusations. Elon Musk said Tuesday that his artificial intelligence firm XAI is building Grokpedia, an open source digital encyclopedia to rival Wikipedia, which the tech tycoon has repeatedly accused of leftist bias. One of the founders of Wikipedia just went on Tucker Carlson and revealed that it's the CIA basically controlling all of Wikipedia. Right. It was straight up, that's what he said. And so this Elon, in classic Elon fashion, is like, okay, we're going to make Grokpedia. Well, of course, we know Grok and XAI is just Elon's way of gathering up all the human information in the entire world and controlling reality. And Wikipedia, again, losing the faith of most people who with their eyes open. And Grokpedia will basically be a Wikipedia, but for the purposes of centralizing all human information for the benefit of AI. So again, we have AI really taking the sort of bold and obvious step into control of just all information. People stop using Wikipedia. We've known for a long time that basically it's just a warehouse of guys in Langley who edit all the Wikipedia articles. Well, in this case, you can just let Grok do it for you. Okay, we're building a new consensus reality, and its name is Elon.
Oh, man, Grok is getting ready to crawl into brains eventually, and they need. It's going to be their own central intelligence. Forget the CIA. You got Elon's entire operation there, Elon intelligence operation. Okay,
and it's Elon's guys that already had access to all the government infrastructure and software. So Grok already has all the national secrets. Poco Joe says, I think maybe AI is going to end the internet. Maybe people will quit. I mean, you're not far. I think there is a chance that the internet, interacting with the internet as we understand it now, will be completely dead. I mean, even for us, Gons, the art section of our show used to be, a mainstay of every single episode. There were, back 2021, 2022, the art section was filled with a half a dozen just excellent pieces of art that people would make for the show. And it really was, once AI became available enough, you'd think that we'd then get flooded with AI art. But what really happened was that the real artists stopped making art and sending it to the show because anybody could do it. Not even that a lot of people were doing it, but because the poor artists had been devalued so much just in culture, it's stopped. I think we're going to see that a lot with various AI things. I think from social media posts in general, just regular interaction on social media, it literally could just disincentivize anybody from using any of these things, which unfortunately just leaves more room for the AI to dictate reality.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to create different silos and different hubs, but it's going to be, once you're in like a siloed thing, it's going to be difficult to discover or venture too far outside of it without, either
building trust.
Building trust, yeah. It's hard to walk into a brand new city or a room or something that you're not familiar with and connect to everything. It'll be the same way, but even more tangible or quantized in the virtual realm. But yeah, so how are we going to power all this AI? Well, Jeff Bezos has some ideas.
Very quickly.
Oh, okay. I hit the wrong jingle anyway. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, how are we going to do it? We're going to do it very quickly.
Oh, yes, we are.
Space. Wanna go to space?
Here's Jeff Bezos talking about space and AI and computers.
One of the things that's going to happen in the next, it's hard to know exactly when, it's 10 plus years, but I bet it's not more than 20 years. We're going to start building these giant gigawatt data centers in space. So these giant training clusters, those will be better built in space because we have solar power there 24/7, and the solar power there are no clouds and no rain, no weather. So you can build. We will be able to beat the cost of terrestrial data centers in space in the next couple of decades, and so space will end up being one of the places that keeps making Earth better. It already has happened with weather satellites. It's already happened with communication satellites. The next step is going to be data centers and then other kinds of manufacturing. One of the things is
Space centers.
Space data centers. He's not wrong.
Space data centers powering everything. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
You can just bust one of the, you just put it in a satellite, send it up there. It barely takes any new technology to launch a series of data centers into the atmosphere.
Yeah. Reuters reported on it, data centers in space. Jeff Bezos says it's possible. And of course, this comes at the heels of a few pieces of news that we covered recently. Over the summer, a quantum computer goes to space. The computer now orbiting Earth on a satellite demonstrates the technology is workable in space. And of course, the quantum conversation is interesting because just a week ago, scientists finally proved that a quantum computer can unconditionally outperform classical computers. And it's something that Bezos doesn't mention there, the quantum thing. But if he's talking about 10 plus years, he's got to be thinking quantum, right? There's no way he's not thinking of quantum databases in space powering all of AI on Earth. So that makes a lot of sense.
Quantum computer.
Wow. And is there anything you want to say about it, Basil? Because we can move right on to the next thing because I think there's a nice bridge to the next story that's biblical.
Keep it going, baby.
Okay. So part of Revelation 13 and the false prophet, part of what he does is he calls fire down from heaven.
It's got to be biblical.
It says right there in Revelation 13 that the beast, the second beast, is able to call fire down from heaven in the sight of men. And we have this story here, and I'm connecting it to satellites and the quantum computers and everything in space because could it be the guy to really tear down this system once it gets so corrupt and evil? The false prophet will come. He's going to judge all this whole beast system as part of, his whole deception and make it all rain down in fire and terror on the earth. And the only reason why I even think that is because of this drone story.
Drone strikes have saved lives.
Can we shoot them down if over our property?
Drones.
Apparently, in China, there was a drone show that went wrong. And the music is kind of whatever there. But the footage that, if you're watching, what you're seeing is what looks like just sparks of light coming down, like raining down on a city. But it is, in fact, a whole bunch of drones that malfunctioned in some kind of drone show, where they have some kind of display of things going on. And so what you see is hundreds of these drones that it look like they're on fire coming down from the skies and burning power lines and different buildings and stuff. And I mean, it looks pretty apocalyptic to me if you want my opinion on it, Basil, because you got like a blue beam type thing. You got like an advertisement or something up in space or up in the sky anyway. And then all of a sudden fire comes raining down like Sodom and Gomorrah and starts burning up your city. I mean, I don't know. This is,
yeah, it definitely
seems
looks
biblical to me.
Looks like some sort of operation. It's crazy. Are those drones?
It looks like what
falling from the sky? Is that what that is?
What?
Are those drones falling from the sky?
These are drones, allegedly. These are drones allegedly falling from the sky in China from a malfunction, they said, of some drones Apparently it's a thing because there's some daylight footage also of some drones. Ooh, that is very loud. Give me 1 second. Let me turn down that audio. Of some drones suffering some kind of malfunction during the day.
Oh, yeah.
And they look like just locusts falling out of the sky or some birds falling out of the sky or something. But yeah, when you see stuff like this, it just makes a lot of the biblical references to locusts that come out of the earth and Joel 2 army of, these creatures that come out of the abyss and stuff. We're just starting to see some things that may appear like it, visually speaking. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy times.
I think along similar lines here, I dropped a link from a Noah Yuval Harari, Yuval Noah Harari clip. It's only 60 seconds, but it might fit here if you want to pop that. And let's see what he has to say.
One of the biggest things happening in the world right now is a shift in authority from humans to algorithms, to AI. Now, increasingly, this decision about your life, is done by an AI. One of the biggest dangers with this new technology is that, a lot of jobs will disappear. So the biggest question in the job market would be whether you are able to retrain yourself to fill the new job, and whether the government is able to create this vast educational system to retrain the population. People will need to retrain themselves. Or if they can't do it, then if you can't do it, the danger is you fall down to a new class, not unemployed, but unemployable, the useless class. People who don't have any skills that the new economy needs. One of the biggest...
Useless class. Let the AI make all your decisions for you. Yeah. Learn to work with it or become part of the useless class.
It's sounds like obsolete.
Sounds like Mark of the Beast to me.
Mark of the Beast, yeah. It's true. And part of what gets discussed in this context as well, and I was sharing with you a little bit about it, Basil, before. You know how currently we have SEO, search engine optimization, which is a way for, if you want to do well with Google searches on certain keywords, you got to do certain things to optimize your discoverability of certain things. And it's interesting, Basil, you and I and Canary Cry, Face Like the Sun, we were very early on sort of taking the real estate on some of the words that I think the CIA and other groups have taken back in the last couple of years. We were kind of early adopters of some of those phrases. But there's something new emerging, and it's not SEO in the traditional sense. It still matters if you want to get searched on the internet, but it's called RAO, Retrieval Algorithm Optimization. And the difference is with AI agents now, roaming around, collecting information, doing the work of what normal people would normally do, Googling something or trying to compile some search results together for research. Now, because an AI agent is doing it, it's a different game. You got to appeal to the AI to be able to retrieve optimized information about yourself. And so there's a small window right now, currently, Basil. Maybe we should think about doing some kind of campaign. There's a window right now where we can kind of shape how the AI will retrieve information about us, about literally you and I, Basil, Canary Cry, all this stuff. Right. And how that gets determined, we can somewhat influence it. And I say we, not just you and I, I'm saying the whole Canarium. It takes a lot of work, so I'm not expecting much. But there's a way to sort of flood the internet with traditional SEO that is tailored for this new RAO, Retrieval Algorithm Optimization. And it's not talked about much because it's, still kind of on the fringes, but I'm sure once it hits, entrepreneur talk or whatever, it's going to be the big thing. No, SEO's dead. Now everyone's got to move over to RAO kind of thing. We'll probably see that in the next year or so. So, these methods keep changing, but if you're not up to speed on how to do RAO and you're still stuck doing SEO, good luck. Bye-bye. We'll see you in the netherworld. Like you're lost in some wasteland of Internet 2.0. We're on Internet 3.0 now, and you better keep up or you're just going to be left behind. And, not just in the internet or digital sense, but because the digital realm is becoming so integrated into our physical world. There you go. You're not doing things correctly in the digital world. You will have consequences in the physical world. You will not be able to get into places, go certain places, travel, whatever it may be. And yeah, sounds a lot like Revelation 13 there, you know, mark of the beast, image of the beast, some Daniel 2, people will go to and fro, knowledge will increase, all that kind of stuff. Oh, and also we started the episode today with the NEPHILIM story. So, you know, they will mingle themselves with the seeds of men, right? The seed of men. There you go. There's mingling with the seed of men happening with that first story about the aliens going on, genetics. You know, just your typical day in the Canarium. Some DNA manipulation from aliens, some AI. Yeah, what worst of all? What's worse than that?
The real sign. Remember back in the day, I think it was like 2015, 16, when we didn't have AI, we didn't have quantum, we didn't have, these weren't the buzzwords. The buzzword was IoT.
Oh, yeah. Internet of Things. Yes, IoT.
This was where we were at. Well, the true beast system is hit because The Verge reports Samsung brings ads to U.S. fridges.
No, not our food, not our food devices.
A software update rolling out to Samsung's Family Hub refrigerators in the U.S. is putting ads on the fridges for the first time. The quote promotions and curated advertisements, as if that makes it better, are coming despite Samsung insisting to The Verge in April that it had, quote, no plans to do so. Samsung, isn't that how it goes? We have no plans. Samsung is calling it a pilot program for now, which, I kid you not, is meant to, quote, strengthen the value of owning a Samsung smart fridge. It's a value add. It's a value add to get advertised on your refrigerator. Here's the full statements Samsung sent to Android Authority. Samsung is committed to innovation and enhancing everyday value for our home appliance customers. As part of our ongoing efforts to strengthen that value, we are conducting a pilot program to offer promotions and curated advertisements on certain Samsung Family Hub refrigerator models in the U.S. market. As part of this pilot program, Family Hub refrigerators in the U.S. will receive an over-the-network software update with terms of service and privacy notice. Advertising will appear on certain Family Hub refrigerators covering cover screens. The cover screen appears when a Family Hub screen is idle. Ad design format may change depending on Family Hub personalizations options for the cover screen, and advertising will not appear when cover screen display art mode or picture albums. Advertisements can be dismissed on the cover screen where ads are shown, meaning that specific ads will not appear again during the campaign period. News of the ads was met with incredulity when it first appeared on Reddit, but the writings been on the wall ever since Samsung embraced a screen everywhere initiative for its home appliances. How apocalyptic is that? Screens everywhere is your initiative for home appliances.
I talked about the generation screen back in 2013, I think.
After all, it was Samsung that started bunging ads into its old smart TV 10 years ago. So there you go. The IoT is here. The refrigerator will not only keep your food cold, but it will advertise to you in the meantime. The most disturbing part of that is personalized ads, personalized curated ads, because in order to curate ads, it needs data from you. Mm-hmm. And if the fridge has a screen, you best know that your fridge has cameras. Are the cameras on the inside? Are the cameras on the outside? What about a microphone? What is it using to personally curate these ads?
All the talk over the last 10, 15 years was like, oh, your refrigerator's spying on you.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, it's not just spying on you. It's actually suggesting to you things that you don't need.
Now. It's a control mechanism.
We are just one step away from what's going to happen when the advertisement is like a beautiful burrito, just a wonderful, beautiful burrito, and you open your fridge and you don't got any burritos in
No,
there.
it's going to be an Uber Eats commercial on your fridge.
On your fridge.
It sees you don't have any good food, so it's the
Right.
perfect time to manipulate you, give you an Uber Eats ad.
I mean, we're
30 minutes.
We're close to the Star Trek. I don't remember what the machine is called, but the computer make me a green chili soup or whatever, and then boom, they got the green chili soup.
The Matterizer or whatever.
Matterizer,
it's
yeah, whatever, yeah. I mean, it's getting pretty close to that. It's got suggestions for you, all that kind of stuff. I mean, man, to be advertised in your kitchen. The kitchen is a sacred place, Basil. I'm learning I make food for my children every day. It's a very important place. You got some sharp objects in there. You got, the kitchen.
The fridge is it's a betrayal. The fridge is supposed to be your friend. It's supposed to be this place that
betrayal of the fridge.
Yeah, it holds the fuel with which you keep your family alive, and now it's also a spying and mind control device. The spying is not even the worst part anymore. It's the actual.
That's what I'm saying. It used to be spying. It's like, well, we collected enough data, and now we don't need to just learn about you. We will tell you what you need, what you want. Man.
But not here, folks. We are not putting ads on your refrigerator. We're not even putting ads on your podcast, because mind control is not okay in any place, whether it's your fridge, whether it's your podcast. That really just means that somebody is selling your time, your attention, invading your life, invading your space, invading your brain, and using it to monetize for some corporation who wants to mind control you into behavioral change. But not here, folks. We're not trying to, at least on behalf of any corporation, trying to change your behavior. Perhaps on the behalf of Jesus, I'd like to have some effect on people's behavior. That would be best case scenario, but it certainly won't have to do with selling you any products. It's because we're on the value for value model. You might notice no advertisements, no sponsorships, no platform partnerships. We are 100% entirely supported by people who get value from the show, and not just people, but people who understand the value of not having their consciousness monetized by people who will say or do anything to get as many views or clicks as possible, even when what it takes to do that is poisonous for our hearts, our minds, and our souls. No poison here, baby. Just straight up organic produce for your heart and your soul. And the thing is, the only way we're able to do this is when people understand, appreciate, and get value from what's going on here, and put value back in. You can put value back in with your time, your talent, your treasure. If you're an artist, if you're a musician, you can create art for the show, create music. Go to canarycry.art, upload it there. If you have skills or time, you can help us put that to work. Help us start the Canary Cry cartoon project that's going to save this entire canarium. Or if all else fails, you can support us financially. A huge thank you to all of our producers who come in throughout the month to help support the show. It's getting harder than ever. We understand, folks. We understand the way things are out there, the economy, the prices. Lord knows we are right there along with you. So even more so, God bless anyone out there who says, you know what? The value is here. This value, I don't have I have one other podcast that I listen to out of about 16 different weekly podcasts that doesn't advertise to me, and that's the No Agenda Show. Shout out to No Agenda. But other than that, it's just us, baby. And am I bitter about it? Yes, I am. Specifically about all these advertisements coming through on my podcasts.
Just as a quick note, this did come out today. Watch a Guru did report U.S. dollar has lost 10% of its value this year. 10% this year. And that is optimistic. I'm sure the real number is horrific.
I'll tell you what, I've lost more than 10% of my dollars this year.
That's just insane. It's true right now. I mean, as much as Trump says, there's no inflation, it's like you go to a grocery store, you're pushing to feed a family of 4, you're pushing $1,000 a week. no
Yeah, not
problem.
to mention dance lessons and
Oh my gosh,
babysitting.
it's absolutely insane right now. It's out of
Yeah.
control. So yeah, your help is very appreciated. It is not.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen without individuals. There's no corporation out there making deals with us to monetize your brain. There's no and this is the thing that drives me, a little bit nuts, because you think about it, you might say, well, when a show advertises, that means I get it for free. Is it really free though? And I'm not even talking about just your time or your attention. If you're living, like I said, I point out various podcasts all the time, but the point is all of them. They're doing about 6 minutes of ads every 10 to 15 minutes. And so by the time you listen to like a 2-hour podcast, think of all the money that I've spent without even knowing it, just as a result of the brainwashing. Because that's the thing with advertisements, propaganda, all this stuff. The point is that you think it's your idea. You think that your needs are coming from your own brain or your real needs. But when we spend so much of our time, whether it's scrolling, whether it's online, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on YouTube, doesn't matter. We're taking 15% of our entire day is spent getting advertised to. We cannot trust our own decisions when it comes to spending or the ideas of what we need. And if you say, well, I never buy anything that gets advertised to me, that's the point. It is designed for you to think that all of your habits, your spending are your idea. So that's one of despite the spiritual reasons, despite everything, to just get a couple of hours to not get the onslaught of brainwashing to affect our decisions without us knowing it, that's a real blessing. It's a blessing for us to do it. It's a blessing for you guys to keep it going, but it can't keep going. It doesn't keep going without some recognition and participation of our producers in the value for value model. So whatever way God has given you to put value into his mission on earth, consider supporting the show.
Sorry.
You can go to canarycry.support to learn more all about it.
Okay, sorry. Stuff got moved around here. Here we go. Oh, hold on. Hold on, sorry. Sorry, I was trying to prepare something, and things open automatically on.
That's okay. Thank you very much. There you go. canarycry.support. Go check it out. Go support the show. Big old shout out to all of our monthly producers. God bless you guys. People coming in, been getting value for a while, plan to get value more into the future, coming in, signing up to support the show on a monthly basis. It truly is the real game changer around here, whatever it is that God's calling you to do. You can go to canarycry.support, hit that monthly button, and just put your own value together and put it on there. And then, really us being able to look ahead 30 days and have a certain number that we know is gonna come in, whether we, I don't know whether anybody listens or not. It makes a huge difference. But the executive producers, those are people who come in, they support any individual episode with $100 or more, which we're incredibly grateful for. It's a huge deal, and we thank them here. Of course, I want to start out by thanking executive producer Sir Alex Protocol, V2 Baron of the Breen Protocol.
Woo.
Thank you very much, Sir Alex Protocol, being so faithful with his executive producerships. He comes in with $100.33.
Illuminatus!
He's on a 430 episode streak altogether and an 84 episode executive producer streak. Thank you, Sir Alex.
Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol.
Anonymous comes in with a nice round number. Thank you, Anonymous, and says, please keep anonymous. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Sir Jamie, not the Lannister, comes in, produces the show with his weekly tithe. Thank you very much, Sir Jamie.
Thank you, Sir Jamie.
And we got executive producer TDL Prez coming in for a nice round number and says, just that extra on a slow month. Well, because it's a slow month, because, and we all need a little bit to keep us going. Love TD, Mai, and Bella Suzu in the mists of the Metro ATL. Keep it up and shout the morning cup of Joe that rattles my cage each morning. Thank you very much, Executive TDL Prez, Bella Suzu, and Mai. God bless you guys over there in the ATL. And he said it. We got to give a shout out to Cage Rattler Coffee Guns.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Let's go.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. Go to Cage Rattler Coffee, folks. This is a wonderful thing where Canarians got together, figured it out, got the beans, roast the beans, and they cook it up just perfect just for you, especially for those who have a hard time with the value for value model. You got to drink the coffee anyways. And I am telling you, Cage Rattler Coffee has made me a coffee snob, which I'm not necessarily proud of, but I understand it now. You go to Cage Rattler Coffee, you can see all the coffee specially roasted just for Canarians. This is by Canarians, for Canarians. And when you purchase your coffee here, you're not only supporting the show, but you're supporting other Canarians, making it happen. That's parallel economy, baby. It's perfect. And we got beans from all over the place. We got the Nephilim Hunter Dark Roast. We got the Emu Wrangler, medium roast. Yeah, I cannot say enough great things about this. Like I said, not a coffee snob, but after having the blessing of Cage Rattler Coffee sending us these samples and the bits that we get, Guns. By the way, there should be more coming. Keep an eye out for that on the P.O. box. Highly recommend it, folks. CageRattlerCoffee.com. Support the show. Support Canarians. And honestly, if it's not the best coffee you've ever had, send me an email and I will tell you you're wrong.
That's fun. I'll enjoy that every time.
Okay. Okay. Next up, we got. Let's see. Who do we got? We got producer Sir Cullen Anderson, Hobo of the Americas, comes in.
Hey,
$23.32. $23.32.
Oh, that is yep.
Illuminatus!
He's on a 46 episode streak. Thank you.
47.
Next up, we've got what?
I said 47.
It's not 47.
What'd you say?
46. 46.
Oh,
you're the mumbly thing again. You're mumbling. 46 episodes in a row. Next up, we got producer Sean H coming in. He joined up at canarycry.tube. Now, this is something we should probably be pushing because of all of the Netflix drama going on with Elon calling. Yeah. Look, we called for the cancellation of Netflix.
We did.
To cancel their Netflix before Elon did. He's following in our footsteps. But at canarycry.tube or canarycry.support, we've got options for when you're finally ready to really take a stand against the entertainment industry / Silicon Valley tech brainwashers. When you're finally ready to actually take a stand, you can go over there and you, of course, cancel your Netflix or whatever version of Netflix you have, and you can sign up to support Canary Cry News Talk, value for value. Why send your $22.99 to Netflix when you can send it to Canary Cry, where God wants it? So thank you very much, Sean H. Signed up for a monthly producership of the Netflix without ads price there, $22.99. And we encourage other people to do this too. That's how you let the principalities in power know where your value is stored.
Did we not lose, but did the website canarycry.tube go down?
The website itself is not there, but at canarycry.support, the canarycry.tube options are there. You just had them up on the screen.
Yeah, I know. I just went to tube and it's just
here. That was like a PayPal campaign we had, which ended long ago, but the options are still there over at canarycry.support. You can cancel your YouTube Premium, your Disney Plus, your Netflix with ads. Pick what you're canceling. Come over here, sign up here. That's what's going to keep God's work moving here. So thank you very much producer Sean H. We got producer Malik coming in again.
Malik, thank you, Malik.
Yeah, appreciate that. Just had a birthday. Happy birthday again to you, Malik.
Yep.
And let me just double check, make sure Malik didn't send a note here. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Nope, no note today. Thank you very much. We have, last but not least, I think, is Sir Marty B, Knight of the Base, comes in.
Hey, Sir Marty B, thank you.
Yeah, for his 7774.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, we got some producers who came in under the $7.77 mark. If you come in over $7.77, you're entitled to have a note read on the show. If you come in under that, we still thank you on Wednesdays. I got your streaks going. Thank you. And I think that's that for financial producers. Let me jump over here, see if anybody jumped in at the last second here. They were just so astounded by the coverage today. They just couldn't resist and had to support the show. Nope. Okay, that concludes the list. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. We got a voicemail, Gons. Shall we? Yeah, let's play a voice. This is one thing. Do we have the voicemail jingle sitting around anywhere? Because we haven't pitched it in a while. Yeah, the speak pipe.
Yeah, I think I can pull up the speak pipe.
Okay. Well, if you go to Canary Cry newstalk.com, that includes canarycry.support, anywhere on the website, you'll see a green tab on the side or the bottom. You click on that green tab, it'll pull up a little pop-up, and you can record a voice message to us from whatever device you're on. You don't need a special microphone. You don't need anything. We haven't pitched it in a while, but it's always fun to get these voice messages, and we got one. What do we got, Guns? Do we have a fun?
This is our CCR special Boots on the Ground report. Now, let's go live.
I don't think that's quite
That's
it.
not it. That's the Boots on the Ground report. That's fun.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, it got me again. It always gets me.
All right. Yeah, this is from Anthony H.
Hey guys, this is Anthony, and just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all that you do. My wife and my kids have been listening to you guys recently while they homeschool. So again, guys, I'm just so grateful for all that you do, and I just would like to leave a little prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, and we come to you humbly in Jesus' name. And Father, I pray that you would bless Canary Cry, Lord, Basil and Gons, Lord, and I just pray that you would be with them, everywhere that, that they go and all that they do, and that you would bless them physically, mentally, Lord, and spiritually, Father. You would just, watch over them and their families. And again, Lord, we just thank you for all the listeners, Lord. All those who need prayer, Lord, all those who give prayer, all those who produce the show. And again, Father, bless this ministry, Lord, that is Canary Cry Radio, Father. And we give you thanks always, Lord, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Anthony H. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you, Anthony H. Appreciate that. God bless you guys over there. Okay, you got anything for us?
I think there was a Jonathan F. track.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. Now, we hadn't done different things on that for a while, but I think, let's see, we have, let me see. I got to introduce Jonathan F. here.
Jonathan F.
And this is a lo-fi version of the coffee jingle, is what I am told.
I think it's his own
Someone
copy.
take a little break, get a cup of Joe.
Get a cup of Joe and we'll strategize how we can protect you and the Constitution and democracy itself for generations to come. That is a good cup of Joe.
Not bad.
Beautiful.
I like it.
Good way to close out the Cage Rattler coffee pitch there.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much, Jonathan F. Appreciate that one. Always good. Always useful for the jingles. I think that's it. And just a shout out quickly to Joe. Thank you, Joe, for continuing to leave feedback, because he always leaves feedback for every episode of Canary Cry News Talk. So thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Okay, there you go. Anything else? Oh, you know what? I will say officially that everybody should take out their phone, open up their text messages, and text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Again, that's canary to 877-740-3226. And you'll start getting notifications, text message notifications before we go live throughout the week. This is a very wise thing to do. We're all trying to understand how much of our life we are handing over to the algorithms. And like Yuval Noah Harari, this is the game plan, to hand over as much of our lives as possible to the algorithms. And if you're waiting for YouTube to notify you, if you're waiting for the show to pop up on suggested videos, if you're waiting for even Rumble to send you a notification, that is you handing over your attention and your time to the algorithms to decide what you pay attention to, what you spend your time doing, what you let into your ear holes and into your soul. But a great way to take a step against a rebellious step in the opposite direction is to sign up for the Canary Cry text message alert system. That's you saying intentionally, hey, Basil, send me a text before every show. Let me know. Then I can decide if I want to watch or listen to the show instead of letting YouTube decide for us, because that is what YouTube does. Again, some of the sinister ways that we hand over much of our day, much of our life to the robots to decide how we spend it. But would you rather hand over your attention to some weird guy who does a podcast and has a text message list to send you a little text message when we're going live? That's right. I knew you would. So text the word canary to 877-740-3226. Fun part is you can text that number back and we read them. I cannot carry on a conversation with you via text because it's very expensive for us. But you can send a text and I read them. Sometimes I read it on the show. Keep an ear out for your area code because Canarians find each other through these announcements. 661 texted and says the revolution will be virtualized. That's true. 907 asked, are you guys doing the art section today? Yeah, kind of. We need more art to really call it a section nowadays, but so make some art, send it in. Let's see here. 702 says, I have Dr. Michael Heiser DVD, Aliens and Demons, and Gary Bates documentary, Alien Intrusion, Unmasking a Deception and Age of Deceit, Fallen Angels in the New World Order. Well, good. Congrats there, 702. The old school DVD owner.
Let's go.
That's right. Let's see here. Okay, we got a prayer request coming up here, Guns, from 929. So I think we should call the producers. Listen up, producers. Get ready to spiritually produce the show where we pray for the show, pray for each other, pray for Gons and I, and pray for the other producers who let us know their prayer needs.
Producers, assemble!
929 says, Basil and Gons, please pray for Adrian. She has stage 4 cancer that was in remission and came back. Pray for Arlene and her family's success. Maybe that was, can't tell if these are two different people or the same person. Adrian and or Arlene and her family's success, health and protection. Pray for Simona. She is attending a Catholic college and having some separation anxiety. Please pray for her success and health and that she would seek and find the Lord. Pray for Marina, Leah, Autumn, Shane, me, and the rest of my family. Pray for our president and our country. Pray for all the Canarians. We ask that Jesus would exalt our nation and bring revival to his great country. We proclaim all this by the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ, the mighty Messiah, with love and anointing. Vibes Brooklyn Brew 718. Amen. Okay. Amen.
Thank you for that. That was a big prayer. I like that. Lots of people and different challenges, different things.
Adrian, Arlene, Simona, Marina, Leah, Autumn, Shane, me, and the rest of the family. There we go. Yeah, nice. God bless you guys. 774 just joined the text message alert system. Good job, 774. Welcome to the club. Says, I'd like to send in art. I'm new to your show. Hey, there we go. We got a new Canarian. Glad to have you here, 774. And yeah, if you want to send in art, go to canarycry.art. That's where you upload the art and puts it on a nice spreadsheet for us, and we'll make it on the show on Wednesday. Let's see, who else? 904 says, hey, Basil, is the Liberty Mutual commercial featuring Limu the emu based on a story of one of your emus seeking to be on their own? I can just picture you saying you can't help people with the life insurance. You are just a flightless bird. Maybe that's why the other emus are trying to escape. They saw him on TV. They wanted their shot of fame. Yeah, Limu, he wanted to strike it out on his own and start making his own money. His allowance wasn't enough to pay for his Pokemon card collection.
Yeah, look at him. He's got sunglasses on. He's getting the full treatment. He's got a suit and tie. Not a suit, but a nice collared shirt and a tie. He's got his police badge. I mean, he's really did step it up. He's
very responsible emu. We're all very proud of him. Thank you for checking. Let's see. 720 sent a flippy update. Let's see. Autonomous robot farming investment opportunity. This was literally advertised to us on YouTube. Yeah, lots of that. Let's see here.
Of course.
Yes. Okay. That looks like about it. 518 says peace and blessings from 518. 250 says thanks for the heads up. Wish I could listen live. I'll have to catch you on the podcast. I'll be praying for you, Kat. Thank you very much, Kat. See, there you go, folks. Take out your phone, text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Go do it. Go do it now.
Yep. Hey, just to wrap things up, Basil.
Okay.
We're done with everything other than we're going to thank some people real quick to wrap the show. But fool me once. Fool me twice. That's the George Bush Jr., do it again. Here's Greta.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I'm a citizen of Sweden. If you are watching this video, I have been abducted and taken against my will by Israeli forces. Our humanitarian mission was non-violent and abiding by international law. Please tell my government to demand my and the others' immediate release.
It just keeps happening to her, Basil. She doesn't learn her lesson.
Yeah. She just keeps. I think this is the fifth. The fifth.
Is it the fifth time?
I believe it's the fifth one. Yeah. I mean, there you go. She's changing the world, man. She's making it happen.
I think she should get her DNA checked.
She's not changing the world as much as our timestampers, though, who are every show changing the world by timestamping the show. God bless them. Who are we thinking today?
Timestamp. It's hard work.
Morgan E came in. Wait, hold on. Morgan E. Oh, you know what? Morgan E came in last episode with episode 881. Thank you very much. The final shutdown. There we go.
Thank you very much, Morgan E. And of course, big thank you to Jam, who heads up the Telegram channel. Adam42 heads up the Discord channel. If you want to get connected to other Canarians, continue the conversation, and dive in with others who are on the level. There's probably a CIA agent or two in there, I'm assuming. But you can go to canarycry.party, where you'll see a bunch of links, and there's going to be a button or two there for the invite link for Discord or Telegram. Wherever you are, there are other Canarians, so go join them there. Of course, we also have canarycry.community, which is our own sort of social media forum, Reddit type place, just for Canarians. It's a nice, slow-paced, peaceful social media experience to connect with other Canarians just like you. I highly recommend it. Canarycry.community. Thank you to Joe for all your feedback. Thank you to Clank for clanking. Oh, I think we have a couple emails from Clank. I'll have to get on that. And of course, thank you to Sir Ike for everything you do, buddy. And other than that, folks, share the show, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your emus. Go find a petting zoo somewhere. They're almost guaranteed to have emus, and let every emu know that Canary Cry News Talk is a safe place for them. We fight for the rights of emus to make their own money, to make their own way in the world. Of course, we're also fighting for the salvation of every emu on this earth. Beloved children of God they are. But we call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Prepare for Putin's birthday tomorrow. Vladimir Putin, I believe, will turn 73 years old, and he will declare Bitcoin as Russia's main currency.
Probably.
Probably not.
Number one, keep an eye out. That'll be interesting to see if there's any news stories that are like, as a present to Putin, this Ukrainian strike, or as a present to Putin, Trump lifts sanctions, or a birthday present to Putin. We'll keep an eye out for something like that. And you obviously know that it's Putin's birthday because of the Canary Cry calendar. Go sign up for the Canary Cry supply drop, folks. It's a great way to support the show on a monthly basis, and every quarter we'll send you a package with custom created Canary Cry gear. It's again for Canarians by Canarians, and the fourth quarter package this year is going to have the Canary Cry calendar, a beloved tradition put together by Canary Cry producers, filled with art and probably 40% of the whole year is filled every date, maybe more, maybe 50 or 60%. Gives you the history and anniversaries of interesting things. So go check it out. Thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time, but until then, think outside the cage.
Will hunt you down and make you pay.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
solutions for the problems that he created. So step right up for the great reset. For the great reset.
hiding in the shadows. He's always behind the scenes. He's pulling on the purse strings. He's got control of everything. He's got the solutions to the problems that he created. So step right up for the great reset. For the great reset. He serves his master with fervor. He's a Luciferian. He's bound up and determined to bring us to an end. It's the final solution. Destroy the human race. So walk right up to the great reset. To the great reset. The great reset. There's only one way out through the door, but you'll need the code. 10, 5, 19, 21, 19. Or you can step right up for the great reset. For the great reset. For the great reset. For the great reset.
It's based on people, human living beings. That's kind of the idea behind live entertainment, because you can watch a video, you can listen to a music on Spotify or whatever.
Listen to our music every day. Yes.
But there's this spiritual problem where, for the purposes of the vampiric necro-capitalist system that we live in, the beast system requires that they never die, or when they do die, they are easily replaceable by technology. That's kind of the idea. You can listen to a music on Spotify or whatever.
Listen to our music every day.
Human living beings. You can listen to a music on Spotify. Beast system requires that they never die. Technology. Technology. Human living beings. You can listen to music every day. Technology. That they never die. On Spotify. Human living beings. Technology.
When the news of the day gets to feeling like a maze, it's okay, don't be afraid if you don't know what to say. Canary, cry waits. When your brain's in a haze on a headline days, come on, head my way, I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry waits. Canary, cry waits. Oh, canary, cry waits. Oh, the world's changing every day, each and every way you turn, there's another thing to learn. Reading in between the lines, thanking Jesus for our lives, and nice to see His glory shining like the sun. Run the race until it's done. Come on, everyone. Canary, cry waits. Oh, canary, cry waits. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, come on, ahead my way, I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry away.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.